My dear friend, let this be the hour in which you cease from effort. Let the day fall away from you now. Not all at once, not by force, not because you must become calm quickly, but gently, as a garment is removed at the end of a long journey. You have carried many thoughts today. You have carried decisions, questions, concerns, little unfinished conversations within yourself, and perhaps the old desire to make something happen. But tonight, for a little while, you are not asked to make anything happen. You are not asked to force the world. You are not asked to move one visible thing. Tonight you are invited to stop pushing and to let the deeper law receive you. If you are lying in bed, feel the bed beneath you. Let it hold the weight of your body more fully than it did a moment ago. Let the back of the body soften into what supports it. Let the legs rest. Let the feet release. Let the hands no longer prepare to grasp. If you are sitting in quietness, let the chair receive you. Let the floor beneath you become steady. Let the whole body understand that there is nothing to defend itself against in this moment. There is nothing to solve before you are allowed to rest. This night is not a task. This night is not a test of your faith. This night is not an examination of whether you can imagine perfectly, feel perfectly, or manifest correctly. No, let all of that fall away. You are not here to perform before God. You are not here to prove that you are worthy of your desire. You are not here to strain the mind until it obeys. You are here to become still enough to receive. Begin with the jaw. Let it loosen. If the teeth have been pressed together, let them separate slightly. Let the tongue rest. It has spoken enough today, even if much of that speech was inward. Let the mouth soften, as though it no longer needs to answer the world. Let the muscles around the eyes release. Let the eyelids become heavier, not as a command but as an invitation. Let the forehead smooth. Let the face lose the expression it has worn for the sake of the day. Now let the shoulders drop. They have carried more than they were meant to carry. Let them fall a little lower. And then, if they wish, lower still. You need not hold up tomorrow with your shoulders. You need not hold up your desire with tension. You need not prove sincerity by remaining tight. Let the chest soften. Let the heart no longer stand like a guard at the door of life. Let the upper back release. Let the arms rest. Let the hands become quiet and open. Now bring your awareness to the belly. Let the abdomen loosen. So many hold their fears there without knowing it. They brace against what has not happened. They tighten against what may come. But tonight the belly may soften. It may stop preparing for danger. It may receive the breath more gently. Let the breath come as it comes. Do not try to make it deep. Do not try to make it spiritual. Do not try to make it impressive. Simply let it be natural, and then a little softer, and then softer still. With every exhale, allow the need to force to leave you. You do not need to force the desire. You do not need to force the bridge. You do not need to force another person. You do not need to force the hour, the means, the channel, or the sign. You do not need to force sleep itself. Let even sleep come when it comes. Let rest come as a friend, not as a command. If the mind still thinks, let it think less urgently. If images pass, let them pass. If concerns appear, do not wrestle with them. Do not turn this quiet hour into another battlefield. Let the thoughts move through the mind as birds move across the evening sky. You do not need to follow them. You do not need to name them. You do not need to finish them. For there is a deeper part of you that does not require the constant labor of the surface mind. There is an intelligence within you, older than your worry, deeper than your planning, more faithful than your effort. Men call it by many names. I call it law. I call it imagination. I call it God in man. I call it consciousness. But do not let the names trouble you tonight. The name is less important than the stillness in which you begin to feel that something greater than your anxious effort has always been present. The desire is not delivered by mental struggle. It is not brought forth because you exhaust yourself thinking about it. It is not persuaded into being by inner pressure. The desire is delivered when the state is accepted, when the end is assumed, when the inner man ceases fighting the absence and begins to dwell in the presence. That is why this hour is so precious, because before sleep, the body grows quiet, the senses withdraw, and the deeper self becomes more receptive. This night is not empty, it is a chamber. Think of the night as a quiet room within consciousness, a room in which you do not need to shout, a room in which the soul does not need to argue, a room in which the old efforts of the day may be laid down at the door. Most men enter that room carrying the same burden they have carried all day. They carry fear, they carry impatience, they carry the old question, how will it happen? They carry the weight of trying to arrange life by the limited mind. And then they wake and find that the same state has followed them into another day. But tonight, you need not bring that burden with you. Tonight, before we speak of anything more, let the burden of forcing be placed down. Let the need to manage the entire universe be placed down. Let the need to know every step be placed down. Let the old belief that your desire depends upon your strain be placed down. You may be still now, you may be quiet now, you may be supported now, and in that support, something begins to move, not because you pushed it, but because you stopped resisting it. This is a secret very few understand. There are movements in life that begin only when the body ceases its fight. There are doors that open only when the hand stops beating against them. There are arrangements that the conscious mind could never design, but which the deeper law knows how to form once the end has been accepted. So as the body softens, let it also become a symbol. Let the relaxed jaw say, I do not need to argue with life tonight. Let the softened shoulders say, I do not need to carry the means. Let the quiet hands say, I do not need to grasp. Let the open breath say, I am willing to receive. Let the whole body become the first prayer. Not a prayer of words, but a prayer of release. There is nothing you must visualize perfectly now. If the mind is tired, let it be tired. If you cannot see clear pictures, do not condemn yourself. The law is not dependent upon artistic pictures in the mind. It is moved by state, by acceptance, by the inner feeling of reality. You are not required to make a long inner drama tonight. You are not required to hold an image until the mind aches. You are not required to fight for concentration. The first step is softer than that. The first step is to stop opposing peace. Let peace come nearer. Let quiet come nearer. Let the sense of being held come nearer. This is the beginning of allowing. Not weakness, not resignation, not giving up the desire. Allowing means ceasing to fight the path by which the desire may come. Allowing means no longer trying to force the law to use the little door the conscious mind has chosen. Allowing means assuming the end and letting the deeper order arrange the means. Tonight, we begin by teaching the body how allowing feels. It feels like less pressure. It feels like an easier breath. It feels like the chest no longer tightening around the question. It feels like the soul whispering, I do not need to know how in order to rest. Let that whisper be enough for now. I do not need to know how in order to rest. I do not need to know how in order to receive. I do not need to know how in order to trust the law. You may not yet believe this fully, and that is all right. Do not force belief. Let the body go first. Let the nervous system soften first. Let the breath open first. Sometimes the mind follows where the body has already surrendered. Sometimes the heart accepts quietly before the intellect can explain. So do not make an enemy of your uncertainty. Let even uncertainty lie down beside you and become quiet. The night is kind to those who stop fighting. The night does not ask you to be powerful in the way the world describes power. It asks you to be receptive. It asks you to become like fertile ground. The ground does not strain to grow the seed. It receives. It holds. It allows the hidden process. That is not weakness. That is its part in the law of growth. And tonight you are learning the same. You are not the frantic builder of every event. You are the one who receives the seed of the fulfilled state and lets the law do its appointed work. So let yourself become like quiet earth, still, dark, receptive, alive beneath the surface. Let the outer world fade for now. It will be there tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, it may already be touched by what you accept tonight. But for now, let the room grow dim. Let the senses lose some of their tyranny. Let the mind become less interested in old evidence. Let the body descend more deeply into safety. You are safe enough to stop pushing. You are safe enough to stop planning. You are safe enough to stop asking life to explain the entire bridge before you take one inward step. You are safe enough to release the need to make it happen tonight. There is such relief in that. And as you feel even a little of that relief, know this, relief is not nothing. Relief is a change of state. A softened breath is not nothing. A quiet chest is not nothing. A less guarded body is not nothing. These are the first signs that the old struggle is loosening. And when the old struggle loosens, the deeper law has more room to move. Something is already moving when you stop fighting. Perhaps not visibly yet. Perhaps not in a way the senses can measure. But inwardly, a door has begun to open. The moment you cease saying, I must force this, and begin to feel, I may allow this, you have stepped into another atmosphere. And atmosphere is creative. State is creative. The inner climate is the instruction given to life. So rest here a little longer. Let the body become heavier. Let the jaw remain soft. Let the tongue rest. Let the eyes fall deeper into quiet. Let the shoulders sink. Let the chest open gently. Let the hands become still. Let the belly release. Let the breath be easy. There is nothing more required in this moment. No effort, no pressure, no perfect thought, no perfect image, no perfect performance of faith. Only this quiet beginning. Only this release. Only this willingness to be held. Tonight, you do not push the desire into the world. Tonight, you release the old struggle around it. Tonight, you enter the receptive chamber of sleep as one who is no longer fighting life. And in that surrender, you do not lose power. You enter the only power that has ever truly created, the power of assumed being, accepted quietly, impressed deeply, and then delivered by law in ways the surface mind could never command. So let yourself be held now. Let yourself be carried. Let yourself be still. The night is receptive. The deeper self is listening. The law is faithful, and you do not have to force anything tonight. Now, as you rest more deeply, I want to speak to you of the old mistake, the mistake almost every man makes before he discovers the law. It is the mistake of trying to force what must be allowed. It is the mistake of believing that pressure is power, that worry is movement, that control is faith, that if only you think hard enough, plan long enough, watch closely enough, and hold the desire tightly enough, then life will be compelled to give it to you. But I tell you, this is not power. This is separation wearing the mask of effort. The human mind, until it is trained in the law, wants to control everything. It wants to know how the desire will come. It wants to know when it will come. It wants to know by whose hand it will come. It wants to choose the door, the hour, the messenger, the road, the manner, the explanation. It wants the whole bridge of incidents laid out before it can rest. It says, I will believe when I see the path. I will be calm when I know the means. I will let go when I am certain how it will unfold. And because it says this, it remains bound to the very state from which it longs to be free. For the desire is not delivered to the anxious controller. It is delivered through the state of assumption. It is delivered through the inner acceptance of the end. The law does not respond to the noise of nervous effort. The law responds to what you are inwardly being. This is a hard lesson for the restless mind, but a merciful one for the soul. For if manifestation depended upon your ability to control the entire world, you would be helpless. But if it depends upon the state you occupy, then freedom is nearer than breathing. Look at the common man. He wants something deeply. Perhaps he wants security. Perhaps he wants love. Perhaps he wants money, health, peace, recognition, a home, an answer, a reunion, a new beginning. His desire may be sincere. His longing may be honest. There is nothing wrong with the desire itself. Desire is the voice of expansion within man. Desire is not the enemy, but after desiring, he does not enter the state of fulfillment. He begins to strain. He thinks about it from morning until night, not as one who possesses, but as one who fears he may never receive. He repeats inwardly, where is it? Why has it not come? What must I do? Who must move? What if it fails? What if the door closes? What if I am too late? And all the while he believes he is being faithful because he is thinking of his desire so often. But he is not dwelling in the wish fulfilled. He is dwelling in the absence of it. This is a subtle thing, and I want you to understand it gently. To want something sincerely is not the same as to accept it inwardly. A man may want freedom and still feel bound. A woman may want love and still feel unwanted. Another may want wealth and still feel poor in imagination. Another may want peace and still rehearse conflict within himself. Desire points the way, but assumption enters the room. Desire says, there is something I would experience. Assumption says, I am now the one who is experiencing it inwardly. Most people stop at desire and then try to force the world to make up the difference. That is the old mistake. They try to force people to change. They try to force circumstances to yield. They try to force signs to appear. They try to force themselves to feel certain while secretly remaining afraid. They try to force the outer world because they have not yet accepted the end within. But the outer world is not the cause, it is the mirror. And no man changes his face by beating the mirror. He changes the face and the mirror follows. So it is with life. Your pressure does not command the law, your state does. Your anxiety does not impress the subconscious as power, it impresses it as anxiety. Your vigilance does not say, I have it. It says, I fear it may not come. Your need to control the path does not say, the end is accepted. It says, the end is uncertain. And the law, being faithful, reflects the state, not the argument you make for it. This is why inner pressure is so often a confession of non-possession. I do not say this to accuse you, I say it to free you. For once you see it, you can lay it down. When you are inwardly pressing, gripping, straining and demanding, look beneath the motion. Ask gently, what am I assuming right now? You may find that beneath the force is the belief that the desire is still far away. Beneath the urgency is the belief that time is against you. Beneath the need to control the means is the fear that life cannot deliver without your constant interference. That fear is not power. It is the old self trying to remain in charge. And the old self does not know how to receive. It knows only how to chase. The old self says, I must make this happen. The awakened self says, I must accept the end. The old self says, I must find the way. The awakened self says, the way is born from the state. The old self says, I must keep watching. The awakened self says, I must remain faithful inwardly and let the law arrange what I cannot see. Do you feel the difference? One is exhaustion. The other is authority. One is fear dressed as action. The other is stillness filled with creative power. Now I must make another distinction clear. I am not teaching indifference. I am not telling you that you must stop loving your desire. I am not telling you to become cold, empty, detached in the sense of denying the beauty of what you want. No. Desire is sacred when rightly understood. Your desire came to you because a greater version of yourself is seeking expression. But to love the desire is not to strangle it. To value the desire is not to grip it with trembling hands. To accept the desire is not to stand over it anxiously, demanding that it prove itself every hour. You can desire sincerely and still rest. You can love the fulfilled end and still release the struggle around it. You can care deeply and still stop forcing. This is the maturity of the law. For wanting much is not the same as allowing. A man may want intensely and receive very little, because his intensity is filled with lack. Another may want quietly and receive naturally, because his quietness is filled with possession. The law does not measure the volume of desire, it measures the state of being. You may cry out in longing for years and remain in the state of longing, or you may enter the fulfilled state for a moment with true acceptance and begin a movement that the whole world must obey. That is why I say, do not mistake emotional hunger for faith. Hunger says, I do not have. Faith says, it is done within me. Hunger watches, faith rests. Hunger grasps, faith allows. Hunger tries to pull the desire toward itself from the outside. Faith becomes the one to whom the desire naturally belongs. When you force, you keep the desire outside of you. You make it a thing over there, a condition not yet reached, a blessing not yet given, a future not yet opened. You stand apart from it and try to drag it nearer. But the law does not work by dragging, it works by identity. You do not pull the state from a distance, you enter it. You do not force the desire to come to a self who feels without it. You become the self to whom it is natural. This is why forcing delays. It continues to affirm two things. There is you here, and there is the desire there. There is the one who lacks, and there is the thing lacking. There is the seeker, and there is the prize. That division is the state of non-possession. And as long as that division is entertained inwardly, the outer world will continue to echo it in one form or another. But when you allow, something changes. You stop standing outside the door. You stop arguing with the lock. You stop demanding that the corridor explain itself. You assume the room. You feel, however softly, what it would be like were the desire already part of your life. You let the body experience relief. You let the mind stop insisting upon the path. You let the heart become quiet enough to receive. Then the desire is no longer an object you are forcing from afar. It becomes an atmosphere you inhabit. That is when the law begins to move without your nervous interference. Now listen carefully. The law is not lazy. The law is not slow. The law is not reluctant. The law is not waiting for you to suffer enough. It is not persuaded by your strain. It does not say, this one has worried intensely, therefore I shall reward him. It simply reflects the state occupied. If the occupied state is anxiety, it gives form to anxiety. If the occupied state is waiting, it gives form to waiting. If the occupied state is possession, relief, acceptance, and quiet certainty, it begins to clothe that state in circumstance. The law responds to being, not begging, not bargaining, not panic, not nervous effort, being. This is why tonight I ask you to loosen the old mistake. Do not turn this sleep into another attempt to force life. Do not lie in bed trying to squeeze a result from the darkness. Do not listen with a tense mind, wondering whether you are doing it correctly. Do not try to manufacture a perfect feeling as though God were watching you for errors. That is the old way, returning through another door. Instead, let this be simpler. Let the body be your first teacher. When the jaw releases, it teaches you that you need not argue. When the shoulders drop, they teach you that you need not carry the means. When the hands soften, they teach you that you need not grasp. When the breath opens, it teaches you that life moves without your command. When the belly loosens, it teaches you that safety can be felt before evidence appears. Let the body show the mind what allowing feels like. You have spent long enough believing that tension proves sincerity. It does not. Tension only proves that the old self is afraid to let the law work invisibly. You have spent long enough believing that worry keeps you responsible. It does not. Worry only keeps you intimate with the problem. You have spent long enough believing that if you stop pushing, the desire will fall away. It will not. What falls away is not the desire. What falls away is the struggle that kept you outside it. The desire remains, the end remains, the law remains, but the old pressure may dissolve. And as it dissolves, you may discover that receiving is not as far away as you thought. It may begin as one softer breath. It may begin as a small inward permission. It may begin as a quiet thought. Perhaps I do not need to force this. Perhaps I may let the Lord deliver. Perhaps the path does not need my fear in order to form. Yes, let that thought be gentle. Perhaps I do not need to force this. Perhaps life knows pathways my anxious mind cannot see. Perhaps the law is more faithful than my control. Perhaps receiving begins when fighting ends. Do not make even these thoughts into an effort. Let them pass through you like a soft wind through an open window. Let them calm the inner room. Let them prepare the deeper self. For tonight we are not here to glorify effort. The world has done that long enough. The world praises strain, but the law responds to assumption. The world praises visible action, but the invisible state gives direction to every action. The world says, do more, push harder, hold tighter. The law says, be still and know. Not be idle, not be careless, but know. Know the end inwardly. Know the fulfilled state. Know that the desire is not brought by panic, but by the quiet acceptance of being the one who has received. This is why the old mistake must be released before sleep. If you carry force into the night, force is what you impress. If you carry fear, fear is what you plant. If you carry the feeling, I must make this happen or it will never come, then you plant a world in which everything depends upon struggle. But if you carry the feeling, the end is accepted and the law knows the way, then you plant rest, order, and delivery. And so, my dear friend, let the old mistake grow tired now. Let the controller in you rest. Let the watcher rest. Let the anxious planner rest. Let the one who has tried to hold the whole world together with thought rest. It was never your tension that moved life. It was never your fear that protected the desire. It was never your pressure that made you powerful. Your tension was not power. It was separation. And now separation may soften. Now the desire may come closer, not because you drag it, but because you enter the state where it belongs. Now the night may receive a new instruction. Not I am trying, not I am waiting, not I am afraid, but something quieter, something deeper, something more creative. I allow, I receive, the law knows the way. And as you rest in that, even a little, you have already begun to leave the old mistake behind. Now, before you drift deeper, I must make clear what I mean when I say, let the universe deliver your desire. I do not mean that you are to lie helplessly beneath the stars, begging some faraway power to notice you. I do not mean that you are asking a distant force outside yourself to take pity upon you. I do not mean that you are waiting for chance, luck, or the favor of some external world that may or may not answer. No, that would be to place the power outside of you again. And that is the very dream from which man must awaken. When I speak of the universe in this way, I speak of law. I speak of the order of consciousness. I speak of God in man, the creative power within you, the hidden movement of the subconscious, the invisible arrangement by which the assumed state becomes visible fact. I speak of the vast order that responds, not to begging, not to panic, not to nervous desire, but to the state you occupy within yourself. This is very important. You are not pleading with something outside. You are not asking life to become kind after years of indifference. You are not trying to persuade heaven to change its mind. You are learning to assume the state of the fulfilled desire and to let the law, which has always been operating, express that state in the world you call outer. The outer world is not the cause. The outer world is effect. It is the mirror, not the face. It is the echo, not the voice. It is the shadow, not the substance. It is the harvest, not the seed. Men suffer because they reverse this order. They look at the mirror and try to change the reflection directly. They hear the echo and try to correct the echo. They watch the shadow and demand that the shadow move first. They stand in the field and curse the harvest while continuing to plant the same old seed within themselves. But the awakened man does not live that way. The awakened man turns inward. He understands that consciousness is first. He understands that the world follows state. He understands that life is arranged from within outward, not from without inward. So when I say let the universe deliver, I mean let the law fulfill what consciousness has accepted. Let the subconscious arrange the means. Let the invisible bridge form. Let life, which is only your consciousness objectified, bring forth the conditions that correspond to the state you have assumed. Do not imagine the universe as a stranger. Do not imagine it as an uncertain power that may decide to bless you if you are good enough, patient enough, desperate enough, or deserving enough. The law is not sentimental in that way. It does not reward your suffering. It does not count your tears and then finally say, "Now I shall answer." It reflects, it outpictures, it expresses, it delivers according to the state impressed upon consciousness. This is why your work tonight is not to beg. Your work tonight is not to negotiate. Your work tonight is not to explain to God why you need what you need. Your work tonight is to enter the state, to accept the end, to dwell even softly in the feeling that the desire is no longer distant from you, and then to let the law organize the delivery. The common man tries to force the world. He tries to move people. He tries to push circumstances. He worries over details. He says this must happen through this person, by this time, in this manner, through this particular door. He narrows the infinite into one little channel and then becomes afraid when that channel does not immediately open. He stands before one door and calls every other door failure. He is so busy controlling the means that he cannot feel the end. But the awakened man assumes the state and lets the law choose the road. This does not make him passive. This does not make him weak. This does not mean he refuses to move when moved. It means he no longer moves from panic. It means he no longer mistakes anxiety for action. It means he no longer worships the visible path before the invisible cause has been accepted. He knows that right action follows right state. He knows that the bridge of incidents forms naturally once the end is impressed. He knows that life may move him, inspire him, redirect him, introduce him, delay him, remove him, or carry him in ways his conscious mind could never have arranged. That is what it means to let the universe deliver. It means you stop trying to act as though the little surface mind must supervise the infinite order of life. It means you accept that the law sees more than reason sees. It means you allow the bridge to be built by something deeper than calculation. It means you live from the end and let the means be revealed step by step. There is great peace in this when you truly feel it. For the burden of the means is too heavy for the ordinary mind. The conscious mind sees only a small fragment of the whole. It remembers yesterday. It worries about tomorrow. It calculates according to what it has known. It looks at visible facts and calls them final. But the deeper self is not so limited. The subconscious is not bound by your little map of how things should come. It knows the hidden connections. It moves through people, impulses, circumstances, delays, meetings, letters, decisions, and events that seem unrelated until the bridge is complete. So you need not know how. Hear that slowly. You need not know how. Not because how does not exist, but because how is not your office. Your office is the assumption. Your office is the state. Your office is the inward acceptance of the end. The law's office is the delivery. And when you try to do the law's office, you leave your own. You stop assuming and begin managing. You stop resting and begin interfering. You stop dwelling in the fulfilled state and return to the anxious self who believes nothing can happen unless he keeps the whole world under watch. This is why so many become weary. They are not weary because the law is difficult. They are weary because they are trying to perform the work of the law with the effort of the mind. They are trying to build the bridge before accepting the destination. They are trying to control the harvest before planting the seed. They are trying to command the echo before speaking the word. But the order is simple. Speak the word inwardly. Assume the state. Plant the seed. Let the echo return. Let the shadow follow. Let the harvest ripen. Let the bridge form. Let the law deliver. This does not mean you sit in fear and call it surrender. That is not surrender, that is resignation. Nor does it mean you neglect the ordinary movements of life. No, you go about your day. You do what presents itself naturally. You respond to what comes. You act when the impulse is clean and natural. But inwardly, you do not act from lack. You do not act from terror. You do not act to force the universe to give you what you have refused to accept within. You act from the state. That is the difference. The same outward action can come from two entirely different states. One man writes a letter from fear, trembling that without it all will be lost. Another writes the same letter from quiet certainty, simply because life moved him to do it. One man speaks from desperation, trying to force another to become his source. Another speaks from dignity, knowing the law is already arranging the fulfillment. One man takes action to escape lack. Another takes action as a natural expression of the fulfilled state. The world may see the same motion, but the law receives the state behind it. So when you let the universe deliver, you are not becoming inactive. You are becoming properly placed. You are returning cause to consciousness. You are allowing action to be born from assumption rather than fear. You are letting the outer movement arise as fruit, not as frantic digging at the root. And now, in this quiet hour before sleep, this becomes especially important. For the night is not the hour for controlling the bridge. The night is the hour for accepting the end. The night is the hour for giving the subconscious a completed fact. The night is the hour for ceasing from the noisy labor of the day and entering the invisible chamber where the seed is received. So if the mind begins to ask, how will it happen? Let that question soften. If it asks, who will bring it? Let that soften too. If it asks, when will it arrive? Let even that grow quiet. You are not here to answer those questions tonight. You are here to assume. You are here to rest. You are here to let the desire become inwardly accepted. And then the law will do what law does. A mirror does not decide whether to reflect. It reflects. An echo does not debate whether to return. It returns. A shadow does not hold counsel before it follows the body. It follows. A field does not ask whether the seed is worthy. It brings forth after the kind of seed planted. So it is with consciousness. The assumed state, when accepted, must express itself. This is not hope. This is law. But hope often looks outward. Law begins inward. Hope says, perhaps something outside me will change. Law says, let me occupy the state, and the outside must conform. Hope waits. Assumption becomes. Hope begs the future. Assumption claims the present. Tonight, I am not asking you to hope the universe delivers. I am asking you to understand that delivery is the natural expression of accepted consciousness. When the state is accepted, life begins to organize around it. It may do so quietly. It may do so through ordinary means. It may appear at first as a small change, a thought, a meeting, a delay, a cancellation, a sudden impulse, a conversation, a letter, a movement in another. Do not despise the ordinary. The law often dresses itself in ordinary clothing. Men miss miracles because they expect them to appear as spectacle. But the law is dignified. It does not need theater. It moves naturally. And because it moves naturally, the fulfilled desire often arrives in a way that feels strangely inevitable. You look back and say, of course, that is how it came. But before it came, you could not have planned it. That is why you must stop trying to force the road. The road is often hidden until you are walking it. So let this understanding comfort you now. You are not waiting upon luck. You are not abandoned to chance. You are not begging an external universe to remember you. You are entering the order of law. You are aligning with the creative cause. You are allowing consciousness to be first and the world to follow. You are letting the invisible become visible in its own appointed way. And because this is law, you may rest more deeply. You may release the need to command every detail. You may release the belief that nothing can happen unless you remain tense. You may release the fear that surrender means losing the desire. Surrender, rightly understood, is not losing the desire. It is giving the desire to the law instead of trying to carry it with anxiety. It is saying inwardly, I accept the end. I do not need to manufacture the means. It is saying, I assume the fulfilled state. I allow the bridge to form. It is saying, I am not waiting for luck. I am allowing law to respond. Feel the peace in that. Not luck, law. Not begging, assumption. Not forcing, allowing. Not controlling the road, accepting the destination. Let the mind become quiet around this. Let it stop trying to turn the unseen into a visible map tonight. A map is not needed at the threshold of sleep. Only the end is needed, only the feeling, only the state. The road belongs to the law, the delivery belongs to the hidden order, the fulfillment belongs to consciousness accepted as true. So rest now in the right relationship to life. You are not beneath the universe pleading upward. You are not outside the law, hoping to be admitted. You are within the law. You are consciousness itself, assuming. You are the operant power, though perhaps you are only beginning to remember it. And as you remember it, even faintly, the body can stop fighting, the breath can open, the heart can soften, the hands can release. The old need to force the world can begin to fall away. The common man forces the mirror. The awakened man changes the face. The common man chases the echo. The awakened man speaks the word. The common man wrestles the shadow. The awakened man moves the substance. The common man fears the harvest. The awakened man plants the seed. And tonight, quietly, gently, without strain, you are learning to be the awakened man. You are learning to assume the state and let the law deliver the desire in its own perfect way. Now let this become still deeper within you. Let the mind grow quieter around one simple truth. Consciousness gives the command, and life arranges the delivery. This is not a phrase meant to excite the restless mind. It is meant to calm it. It is meant to take from your shoulders a burden you were never created to carry. For you have believed, perhaps for many years, that you must not only desire, not only believe, not only imagine, but also direct every path, choose every person, arrange every circumstance, calculate every hour, and manage every unseen movement by the strength of your anxious thought. But that is not your work. Your work is the end. The law's work is the delivery. Let that settle gently. Your work is the end. The law's work is the delivery. You are not asked tonight to become the architect of every incident. You are not asked to know the path before the bridge appears. You are not asked to instruct life in the exact manner by which your desire must come. You are asked to accept the fulfilled desire in consciousness. You are asked to occupy the state of the one who has received. You are asked to let the end become inwardly real. And then the law, the subconscious, the divine order that knows all hidden relations begins to arrange the means. The fulfilled desire is born first in consciousness. It is not born first in the marketplace, nor in the hands of another, nor in the visible facts of the day. These are effects. These are later movements. The first birth is within. The true conception takes place in imagination. When you assume the end, when you feel the reality of the fulfilled desire, when you inwardly accept that the thing is done, something has already happened. Not outside first, but inside first. And because the inside is the cause, the outside must in time rearrange itself. This is the order that men have forgotten. They look to the outer world and say, when it changes, I will feel fulfilled. But I tell you, feel fulfilled, and the outer world must change. They say, when the means are shown, I will believe. But I tell you, believe the end, and the means will be shown. They say, when life gives me proof, I will rest. But I tell you, rest in the inner fact, and life will provide the proof in its appointed way. The mind finds this difficult at first because the mind wants to be in charge of the middle. It may accept for a moment the idea of the end. It may even say, yes, I can imagine the desire fulfilled. But then it rushes immediately to the middle and asks, how will this be done? Through whom? By what path? At what hour? What if this person refuses? What if that door closes? What if I cannot see a way? And in that rush toward the middle, the mind leaves the end. The middle is not your place of power. The end is. The end contains the middle within itself, just as the seed contains the tree. You do not plant a seed and then instruct each root how to descend, each stem how to rise, each leaf how to open. The intelligence of growth is within the seed. Your work is to plant it in good soil. Your work is to accept the seed as living. Your work is not to supervise every movement beneath the earth. And so it is with your desire. The fulfilled state is the seed. Consciousness is the soil. Feeling is the water. The law is the life within it. The bridge grows in secret. Do you understand now why forcing the means is unnecessary? It is not merely tiring. It is misplaced. It is the branch trying to explain the root. It is the shadow trying to command the body. It is the echo trying to create the voice. It is effect pretending to be cause. But when you return to the end, when you accept the completed fact in consciousness, you return to cause. You return to the point of command. You return to the only place where true change begins. Life arranges delivery in ways the conscious mind cannot foresee because the conscious mind sees only fragments. It sees this person, this door, this difficulty, this memory, this present condition. It judges according to what is visible. It says, this is possible, that is not possible. This person can help, that person cannot. This door matters, that door does not. This delay is bad, this movement is good. But the law is not limited by the judgment of the surface mind. The subconscious moves in a deeper order. It knows connections you do not know. It touches thoughts you cannot trace. It awakens impulses. It rearranges meetings. It alters intentions. It brings one thing forward and allows another to fall away. And often, while the conscious mind says nothing is happening, the bridge is already forming. This is why you must not demand to see the whole road tonight. A road shown too soon may frighten the very mind that asked for it. Some paths would never have been chosen by the old self, and yet they are perfect. Some delays are not denials, but arrangements. Some closed doors are not failures, but mercies. Some interruptions are not obstacles, but redirections. Some quiet days are not empty, but hidden preparation. The law does not need to announce every movement to the conscious mind. It simply fulfills the state. Your part is to assume. Your part is to accept. Your part is to rest in the end. Your part is to let the fulfilled desire become natural within you. The law's part is to gather the means. The law's part is to arrange the bridge. The law's part is to deliver through channels you may not yet imagine. The law's part is to clothe the state in fact. Let this bring relief. You do not have to direct the entire mechanism. You do not have to sit at the center of life like a tired king sending orders in every direction. You do not have to know who must change, what must move, which event must occur first, or how the final result will arrive. You do not have to see all the servants of the law. You need only give the command in consciousness by becoming the one who has received. But understand me well, a command in consciousness is not a shout. It is not strain. It is not a violent declaration made by a frightened mind. The deepest command is often quiet. It is the accepted state. It is the inner feeling. This is so. It is the calm assumption, I am now the one. It is the body softening, because the soul has stopped waiting outside the door. It is the quiet authority of being, not the noise of trying. When a king gives a command, he does not run through the kingdom, carrying it out himself. He speaks from the throne, and the order moves through channels appropriate to itself. If he leaves the throne to chase every servant, he has forgotten who he is. So it is with you. Consciousness is the throne. The state is the command. Life is the movement of fulfillment. Remain on the throne of the fulfilled assumption. Do not abandon it to chase the messengers. This is where many fail. They accept the end for one evening, and then the next day they leave the throne and begin chasing messengers. They ask this person, pressure that person, search one road, condemn another, measure the silence, fear the delay, interpret every small event as success or failure. They forget that the command has been given. They forget that the law moves beneath appearances. They forget that the means are not theirs to worship. Do not do that tonight. Do not give the command and then take it back. Do not plant the seed and then dig it up. Do not assume the state and then return to the old self who says, but how? The question how can be innocent when it arises naturally in the course of life, but when it is asked from fear, it becomes a return to separation. It says, I do not believe the law can deliver unless I understand the machinery. But you do not understand the machinery by which your heart beats while you sleep, and yet it beats. You do not command the blood through its hidden channels, and yet it moves. You do not instruct the body in every act of healing, and yet life knows its work. If life can sustain the body without your anxious supervision, can it not also arrange the bridge when the state has been accepted? The divine order is not confused because you are resting. The law is not weakened because you cease worrying. The subconscious is not idle because the conscious mind grows quiet. Indeed, the quieting of the conscious mind often allows the deeper power to work more freely. So tonight, let the conscious mind become humble, not defeated. Humble, let it admit, I do not need to know everything. Let it admit, I do not see all paths. Let it admit, I have often mistaken delay for denial, redirection for failure, silence for absence. Let it become willing to surrender the middle to the law. That surrender is not passivity, it is proper order. Passivity says, I do nothing because I am powerless. Surrender says, I assume the end because consciousness is power, and I allow life to arrange what follows. Passivity collapses into helplessness. Surrender rests in authority. Passivity waits for the world to change first. Surrender accepts the change within and lets the world answer. Do you feel the difference? This night is not asking you to become passive. It is asking you to stop interfering from fear. It is asking you to let action, when it comes, be born from the fulfilled state, not from the old panic. For when the state is right, action becomes clearer. You may be moved to speak, to write, to go, to wait, to decline, to accept, to rest, to begin. But these movements will not have the same fever in them. They will not come from the old belief that everything depends upon force. They will feel more natural, more ordered, more timed by something deeper than anxiety. This is one of the ways the law delivers. It does not only move the outer world, it moves you. It changes your perception. It alters your impulses. It makes you available to the bridge. It quiets one desire to act and awakens another. It causes you to be in a place at a certain hour, to speak a word you did not plan, to remember something, to forget something, to meet someone, to turn aside, to remain still. And all of this may happen so naturally that only later do you see the pattern. Therefore, do not despise the naturalness of delivery. The mind expects the extraordinary, but the law often moves through the ordinary. A conversation, a letter, a change of mind, a sudden peace, a delay that protects you, a door you did not intend to knock upon, an invitation, a release, a memory, a quiet impulse, a meeting that seems accidental. These are not accidental when they belong to the bridge of the assumed state. But again, you do not create the bridge by watching for it. You create the bridge by occupying the end. Your work is the end. The law's work is the delivery. Let that phrase return now slowly. Your work is the end. The law's work is the delivery. If you remember nothing else tonight, let this be enough. When the mind begins to reach toward the means, bring it back to the end. When it asks who will do it, bring it back to the end. When it asks when, bring it back to the end. When it says, I cannot see the way, answer gently, the way belongs to the law. When it says, I must figure this out before I can rest, answer gently, no, I must accept the end, and rest is part of acceptance. You are allowed to rest before you know the path. You are allowed to feel relief before the evidence appears. You are allowed to sleep before the bridge is visible. You are allowed to let the law be faithful without watching it every hour. This is the dignity of one who understands. He does not need to see the whole harvest in order to plant. He does not need to hear the echo before he speaks. He does not need the shadow to move before he changes position. He knows the order. He accepts cause and lets effect follow. So now, as the body becomes quieter, let your desire be simplified. Do not hold it tonight as a problem. Hold it as an end. Do not hold it as a question. Hold it as a fulfilled fact in consciousness. Do not hold it as 1,000 possible complications. Hold it as one completed feeling. What would it feel like if it were already delivered? What relief would be present? What ease, what natural breath? What quiet sense of course? You do not need to answer with many words. Let the body answer. Let the breath answer. Let the chest answer. Perhaps the answer is simply peace. Perhaps it is a softening. Perhaps it is the feeling, I no longer need to manage the road. That is enough. For the command is not in the detail. The command is in the state. Once the state is accepted, life knows how to find the form. The subconscious does not require your long instructions. It requires your assumption. The divine order does not need your anxious map. It requires the end impressed with feeling. So give the end quietly tonight. Give it gently. Give it without strain. Let consciousness select the state. Let life organize the conditions. Let the law arrange the delivery. Let the subconscious receive the fulfilled desire as already true. And then rest. Rest as one who has done his part. Rest as one who has planted the seed. Rest as one who knows that the hidden life of the seed does not need his fear to grow. There is nothing careless in this rest. It is holy. It is lawful. It is the rest of one who has placed the matter where it belongs, not in the hands of panic, not in the hands of visible circumstance, not in the hands of a single person or a single door, but in consciousness where all true creation begins. Your part is to assume. You do not have to direct the whole mechanism. Your part is the end. The law's work is the delivery. Let the body hear that. Let the breath hear it. Let the sleeping mind hear it before sleep comes. And as it hears, let something within you stop trying to be the whole universe and become instead the one thing you are called to be tonight, the one who accepts the end and lets the law deliver. Now let me speak to the part of the mind that asks how. For this little word has kept more men in bondage than almost any other. How? How will it come? How will the door open? How will this person change? How will the money arrive? How will the opportunity appear? How will the body be restored? How will the relationship be healed? How will the desire find me? The mind asks how because it believes that if it can see the road, it can finally rest. But I tell you, the mind that demands the road before accepting the end has placed the road above the law. And this is a great burden. It is not a small thing to live under the tyranny of how. It tires the body, it tightens the chest, it makes the breath shallow, it makes the heart watchful, it turns the imagination, which should be the doorway of creation, into a little workshop of anxious planning. Instead of entering the fulfilled state, man begins to build 100 possible paths in thought, and then he rejects them one by one because they do not appear possible to his senses. He asks how, and then he answers himself with doubt. He asks how, and then he remembers the facts. He asks how, and then he grows heavier than before. This is why I say the burden of how is not wisdom. It is often fear-seeking control. The conscious mind wants to choose the exact channel. It says it must come through this person. It must come by this date. It must come in this way. It must enter by this door. It must look like this, sound like this, arrive in this manner. And if it does not, then perhaps nothing is happening. And because it insists upon one channel, it becomes blind to the infinite. It stands before one door and calls the whole house closed. Do not stand at one door and call every other door failure. Hear that slowly. Do not stand at one door and call every other door failure, for life has more doors than the anxious mind can count. The law has more servants than reason can see. The subconscious has more ways of arranging the bridge than the conscious mind has ways of imagining it. When you insist upon one channel, you are not honoring the desire. You are limiting the delivery. You are saying, this is the only way God may answer me. And in that limitation, anxiety is born. Suppose a man desires prosperity, but he insists that it must come through one particular position, one particular business, one particular person, one particular transaction. He looks only there. He measures only that door. If it moves, he is encouraged. If it is silent, he despairs. He does not realize that he has made the channel his God. He has stopped dwelling in the state of abundance and has begun worshipping a means. But the means are not the source. The state is the source. The law may use that door, yes, or it may use another. It may bring a conversation, a sudden idea, a correction, a meeting, a debt repaid, a gift, an opportunity, an opening no one could have foretold. Why would he bind the infinite to the one little road his fear has chosen? Or suppose a woman desires love, peace, reconciliation, or companionship, and she says inwardly, it must come through this one behavior, this one conversation, this 1 hour, this one sign. Then she watches. She watches words, she watches silence, she watches gestures, she watches what is said and what is not said. She places her peace in the hands of a single outer movement. And if that movement does not appear in the form she expected, she says, it has failed. But perhaps nothing has failed. Perhaps the bridge is moving by another road. Perhaps the old door had to grow quiet so a truer one could open. Perhaps the very silence she condemns is part of the rearrangement. The conscious mind does not know enough to judge the bridge too soon. That is why control creates anxiety. The moment you decide that your desire must arrive in one particular way, you have created 1,000 occasions for fear. Every delay becomes a threat. Every silence becomes a verdict. Every change becomes a danger. Every unexpected event becomes evidence against you. You become vigilant, and vigilance is not possession. Vigilance belongs to the one who fears loss. It belongs to the one who has not yet accepted that the law knows the way, and then frustration follows. For the more you try to force the channel, the more life seems to resist you, not because life is against you, but because you are standing in the wrong state. You are not in the fulfilled end. You are in the state of forcing a particular means. You are not saying it is done. You are saying it must happen this way, or I cannot rest. And that condition keeps the fulfilled desire outside of you. It makes peace dependent upon an outer arrangement. It makes faith dependent upon visible compliance. This is not the freedom I teach. I teach the end. I teach assumption. I teach consciousness as the cause. I teach the strange and beautiful fact that when the end is accepted, the means appear, and often by ways no man would have chosen in advance. Think of how many blessings in your life came by routes you never planned. A meeting that seemed ordinary, a delay that angered you and later protected you, a refusal that sent you elsewhere, a change in another person's mind, a sudden inward impulse, a letter, a visit, a chance word heard in passing, a door that did not open, forcing you to turn, only to discover the true path behind you. If you look honestly, you will see that life has always had hidden pathways, but fear forgets this. Fear says, only this way. Faith says, the law knows the way. Now let me be very clear. To release the how is not to release the desire. Many are afraid of this. They think, if I stop controlling the channel, I am giving up what I want. No, you are not giving up the desire. You are giving up the narrowness of your fear. You are not saying, I no longer care. You are saying, I no longer bind the fulfillment to one road. You are not becoming indifferent. You are becoming free enough to receive. You can release the channel without releasing the desire. You can release the date without releasing the fulfilled state. You can release the person as the only means without releasing love. You can release the door without releasing the destination. You can release the method without releasing the end. This is a great relief when it is understood. For the desire itself may be holy, but your chosen means may be small. The end may be true, but the path you imagine may be incomplete. The feeling may be right, but the route may need to be arranged by a deeper intelligence than the one that worries at midnight. That deeper intelligence is the subconscious. It sees paths the conscious mind does not see. It is not limited to your present knowledge. It is not confined to your current evidence. It is not trapped inside the little circle of possibilities that reason has drawn. Once impressed by a state, it begins to move in ways that are hidden from the surface mind. It works beneath appearances. It touches the roots of things. It arranges conditions from the inside outward. It creates the bridge of incidents, not by the strain of your thought, but by the natural outworking of the assumption accepted. So when you lie down tonight, do not bring the whole burden of how into the chamber of sleep. Do not carry maps, conditions, deadlines, and demands into the sacred interval. Do not say to the subconscious, here is the desire, but you must deliver it only through this narrow passage. Instead, give it the end. Give it the completed feeling. Give it the quiet fact of fulfillment. Let the law choose the servants. Let life choose the road. Let the bridge form in its own order. If the mind asks, but what if it does not come the way I want? Answer softly, then perhaps it will come in a better way. If the mind asks, but what if this door closes? Answer softly, then the law is not limited to this door. If the mind asks, but what if the date passes? Answer softly, the state remains my cause, not the date. If the mind asks, but what if I cannot see the way? Answer softly, I do not need to see the way to accept the end. Let these answers be gentle. You are not fighting the mind. You are teaching it to stop carrying what belongs to the law. A child may plant a seed and then ask his father, how will it become a flower? The father may explain a little, but much of the process remains hidden. The child does not need to understand the secret labor of the earth in order for the flower to grow. If he trusts, he lets it be. If he mistrusts, he digs at the soil and disturbs what he longs to see. So it is with the desire. The how is the hidden labor of the law. You need not dig. You need not disturb. You need not open the earth every morning to see whether life has remembered. Life remembers. The law remembers. The subconscious remembers what is impressed upon it. Your task is to impress the end, not inspect the roots. There are those who reject signs because they do not come dressed as expected. The law begins to move, but because it moves through an ordinary conversation rather than a dramatic announcement, they dismiss it. A helpful person appears, but because it is not the person they had chosen, they ignore him. A door opens slightly, but because it is not the grand door they pictured, they call it nothing. A delay redirects them, but because they wanted speed, they call it failure. They do not realize that the bridge often begins in humble clothing. Do not despise the humble beginning. Do not reject the quiet movement. Do not call the unexpected path a mistake. What looks unrelated may be the first step of delivery. What looks like delay may be alignment. What looks like a closed door may be protection. What looks like a detour may be the straightest path seen from a higher place. The conscious mind sees events one at a time. The subconscious works with the whole pattern. The conscious mind sees the thread. The law sees the garment. The conscious mind sees the stone. The divine order sees the house being built. Therefore, do not judge the work too early. Do not insist that every piece explain itself before you allow the next piece to appear. When you release the how, the body begins to rest differently. The chest no longer tightens around one possibility. The breath no longer waits for one outcome before it may deepen. The mind no longer stands at one gate in the dark, listening anxiously for footsteps. Something opens, something becomes spacious. The desire feels less trapped. The heart begins to understand that the end is larger than the root. And this is the feeling I would have you carry towards sleep. Not I give up, not it cannot happen, not I no longer care, but rather I accept the end, and I release the channel. I know the fulfilled state, and I let the Lord choose the path. I do not stand at one door and call every other door failure. I can release the how without releasing the desire. Let that become very soft now. I can release the how without releasing the desire. The desire remains. The end remains. The law remains. Only the burden loosens. Only the anxiety loosens. Only the little imagined road loses its tyranny over the soul. Now, if your mind has been holding one person as the only source, let that grip soften. If that person belongs to the bridge, the law can use him. If not, the law is not impoverished. If your mind has been holding one date as the only proof, let that grip soften. The date is not the source, the state is. If your mind has been holding one door as the only hope, let that grip soften too. There are doors within doors, roads behind roads, movements beneath movements. You do not need to see them tonight. You need only accept the end. How beautiful it is to no longer be the servant of one channel. How restful to stop telling God exactly how to be God. How peaceful to let consciousness command and let life arrange. How kind to the body to stop living as though everything depends upon your ability to predict the path. So breathe now with less management. Let the jaw release the question how. Let the shoulders release the need to carry the road. Let the hands release the chosen channel. Let the belly release the deadline. Let the chest release the fear that the law has only one way. There is more than one way. There are ways you have not imagined. There are movements already possible beyond your present sight. There are arrangements hidden in the quiet. And when the end is accepted, those arrangements begin to find their order. This is why control delays the desire. It keeps returning you to the middle. It keeps making the path more important than the state. It keeps you watchful, tense, and externally dependent. But surrender of the how returns you to cause. It brings you back to consciousness. It allows the desire to be delivered by law rather than dragged by fear. Tonight you may loosen the burden of how. You may let the channel go. You may let the date go. You may let the one door go. You may let the law be larger than your plan. And as you do not lose the desire. You bring it closer. Because now it is no longer trapped outside you, waiting for one fragile circumstance to obey. It is accepted within you, where all true delivery begins. So rest now in this softer knowing, the end is yours to assume, and the way is the law's to reveal. Now let us come to the state of receiving, for this is where many misunderstand the whole mystery. They think receiving is weakness. They think allowing means sitting helplessly and doing nothing. They think surrender is the same as defeat. But I tell you, true receiving is not weakness at all. It is a state of identity. It is the inner posture of one who no longer stands outside the good he desires, begging to be admitted. It is the quiet dignity of one who has accepted the end and therefore no longer lives as a hungry stranger before his own fulfillment. Receiving is not doing less in the outer world. Receiving is being different within yourself. That is the secret. You may still move. You may still speak. You may still answer letters, walk through streets, tend to your duties, meet men and women, take ordinary steps as life presents them. But inwardly, you are no longer moving as one who must force existence to give him what he lacks. You are moving as one who is already in relation to the fulfilled state. The difference is not always seen outwardly at once, but inwardly it is immense. One action is born of fear, another is born of possession. One is restless, another is guided. One tries to make the desire come, another lets the desire take form. So do not confuse receiving with resignation. Resignation says, perhaps nothing will happen and I must accept that. Receiving says, it is already accepted within me and I allow the law to bring it forth. Resignation is heavy, receiving is peaceful. Resignation lowers the head before circumstance. Receiving lifts the inner man into the fulfilled state. Resignation has the taste of defeat. Receiving has the fragrance of quiet faith. When you are resigned, the body often feels dull. The heart grows tired, the mind whispers, there is nothing I can do. But when you are receiving, something very different happens. The chest softens, not because you have given up, but because you have stopped fighting the unseen. The breath opens, not because desire has died, but because fear has loosened its grip around the desire. The body becomes less urgent, the mind becomes less watchful. You do not feel the same need to look for proof every moment. You do not feel the same compulsion to manage the path. You begin to feel, perhaps only faintly at first, that it can come naturally. And that little feeling is important. It can come naturally. Let that move through you slowly. It can come naturally, not through strain, not through panic, not through your constant inner struggle. It can come naturally. The law can arrange it, life can deliver it, the bridge can form. The end can clothe itself in fact. You do not have to bruise your soul trying to drag the desire into being. When receiving begins, the body often knows before the reasoning mind does. The shoulders lower, the jaw is not so tight, the hands do not feel so hungry to grasp, the chest no longer carries the same sharp ache of when and how. The breath comes more freely, as though there is more room inside you. The belly, which has held so much silent fear, begins to loosen. You may not yet see any outer proof, but inwardly the climate has changed, and the climate is creative. This is why I always return you to feeling. Feeling is not mere emotion. Feeling is the acceptance of reality. Feeling is the inner evidence that you have entered a state. When the wish fulfilled is felt, it does not always feel like excitement. Often it feels like relief. Often it feels like quiet. Often it feels like normality. Often it feels like, yes, of course, this belongs to me. That is receiving. That is the body and the mind beginning to agree with the fulfilled state. The one who receives is not frantic. The one who receives does not chase the desire as though it were fleeing from him. The one who receives does not keep asking the world for permission to feel secure. He no longer places all his peace in one outward sign. He does not need to know every step. He does not need to stand guard over the seed. He does not need to dig up the soil to prove that life has begun its hidden work. He has planted, he has accepted, he has entered the state, and now he allows. The one who already possesses does not pursue in panic. Think of something you already own, not something you hope to own, not something you dream of owning, but something familiar, something ordinary, something that belongs to you. You do not spend the night straining to convince yourself it exists. You do not tremble every hour wondering if it has vanished. You do not plead with life to let you have it. There is a natural ease around it because in consciousness it is already included in your identity. It belongs to your world. It is not far away in feeling. This is how your desire must begin to feel inwardly before the world fully reflects it. Not necessarily dramatic, not necessarily thrilling, but included, accepted, near, natural. It is no longer a thing held in the distance by longing. It becomes part of the atmosphere of self. That is the state of receiving. It is an inward inclusion. It is the feeling, this belongs in my life. It is the feeling, I do not have to force it. It is the feeling, the law knows how to bring forth what I have accepted. It is the feeling, I can rest and still receive. Do you see how different this is from helpless waiting? Waiting says, I am without it until the world changes. Receiving says, I have accepted it in consciousness, and the world is catching up. Waiting watches the road, receiving rests in the house. Waiting measures absence, receiving dwells in the end. Waiting says, when will it come? Receiving says, it can come naturally because it is already true within me. This is why the state matters more than the effort. 1,000 actions taken from the state of not having will only continue the sense of not having, though they may exhaust you and appear noble to the world. But one small act, or even one quiet night of inward acceptance, can begin a new order if it is done from the fulfilled state. For the law does not measure the size of the outer action. It receives the inner state. It does not ask whether you looked busy. It asks by its very nature what you assumed yourself to be. And so I ask you now, not with pressure, but with tenderness, can you begin to feel yourself as one who receives, not one who forces, not one who pleads, not one who bargains, not one who watches in fear, one who receives. Let the body answer before the mind tries to explain. Let the chest soften a little. Let the breath open a little. Let the belly release a little. Let the face become less prepared for disappointment. Let the hands lie as though they do not have to seize the desire from life. Let the whole body become a symbol of inward permission. You may say softly within yourself, I am willing to receive. And if that phrase feels too formal, let it be even simpler. I allow. I receive. It can come naturally. The law knows the way. These are not charms. They are doors. They are ways of entering the state. The words themselves are not the power. The state they awaken is the power. If you say, I receive, but feel desperate, then return to the body. Do not argue with desperation. Soften. Breathe. Let the phrase become quieter. Let it carry relief rather than performance. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are entering the room within yourself where receiving is natural. Sometimes the first sign of receiving is not joy, but the absence of strain. That is enough. Sometimes it is not confidence, but a little less panic. That too is enough. Sometimes it is not a great vision, but a slower breath. Bless that. Sometimes the fulfilled state arrives so gently that the restless mind says, is this all? But do not despise the gentle beginning. A seed begins silently. Dawn begins subtly. The first movement of a great change may be only a small release in the heart. The old self expects force, because the old self believes the world is hard, closed, reluctant, and separate. It thinks life must be conquered. It thinks desire must be taken from a resisting universe. It thinks peace must wait until after the battle. But the awakened self begins to know that life is responsive, not hostile, that the outer is effect, not enemy, that the law is faithful, not reluctant. So the awakened self does not collapse. It receives. It does not beg. It assumes. It does not chase. It dwells. Receiving, then, is an act of consciousness. It is not merely sitting still. It is not merely hoping. It is not merely saying, let whatever happens, happen. No. Receiving is standing inwardly in the fulfilled state and allowing the visible world to conform. It is the quiet command of identity. It is the inward acceptance that says, this is mine in consciousness, and I do not need to make war with the world to have it appear. This is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Many imagine that the wish fulfilled must be a great wave of emotion. Sometimes it is, but more often, especially as you come near sleep, it is a deep and simple relief. It is the feeling that the matter is settled. It is the inner atmosphere of already. It is the quiet sense that the thing has found its place in you. The wish fulfilled does not always shout. It rests. It breathes. It allows to receive, is to let that fulfilled feeling become your home, even before the outer evidence arrives. It is to stop asking the old world to tell you who you are. It is to stop living as though you are suspended between hope and fear. It is to take your place inwardly. And when you take your place inwardly, the outer world must begin to move toward that place, because the outer world is always following the inner man. Now I want you to consider the sensation of urgency. Urgency says, it must happen now, or I cannot be safe. Urgency says, I must watch closely, or I may miss it. Urgency says, if I stop forcing, I will lose it. But this urgency is not the voice of the fulfilled state. It is the voice of the old self. It is the voice of one who still believes the desire is external and fragile. When urgency appears, do not hate it, understand it. It is simply the old state asking to be continued, and then return to receiving. Return by softening the chest. Return by breathing more openly. Return by saying inwardly, I do not need to watch from fear. Return by remembering, it can come naturally. Return by allowing the desire to feel less like an emergency and more like a natural fact. This is not laziness. This is spiritual order. The farmer who is planted does not call himself lazy because he does not tear open the earth each hour. He understands the season of receiving. He has done the act that belongs to him, and now he lets the hidden process work. He may water, he may tend, but he does not panic over the invisible growth. His rest is not neglect. His rest is cooperation with law. So too with you. When you receive, you cooperate with the law. When you force, you interfere with the feeling of fulfillment. When you allow, you remain in the state. When you chase, you confess distance. When you rest in the wish fulfilled, you give the subconscious a stable instruction. When you tremble in need, you give it another. Choose gently tonight. Do not choose with strain. Choose by softening. Choose by letting the old urgency tire itself out. Choose by becoming the one who can say, even faintly, I am willing for this to come naturally. There is a beautiful humility in receiving. It admits that the conscious mind does not know every road. It admits that the law may arrange more wisely than fear. It admits that the desire need not arrive by violence, pressure, or endless mental labor. But there is also great authority in receiving, because receiving is not begging. It is not waiting outside the gate. It is the authority of one who has accepted the inner fact and no longer needs to disturb the process with doubt. So let the state of receiving become physical now. Let the chest be softer. Let the breath be more open. Let the eyes rest behind the lids. Let the shoulders fall. Let the hands be calm. Let the belly release its old watchfulness. Let there be less urgency, less need to monitor, less need to know the hour, less need to inspect the road. Let there be silent trust. Let there be the feeling it can come naturally. Let there be the feeling I can receive without fear. Let there be the feeling the wish fulfilled is not far away. It is the state I now enter. You are not doing less by receiving. You are occupying another state. You are moving from the identity of the seeker to the identity of the one who allows. You are moving from the pressure of lack to the quietness of possession. You are moving from outer dependence to inner acceptance. You are moving from I must make it happen to I accept the end and let life deliver. And this movement, though quiet, is profound. For the state you occupy is the command you give. So occupy receiving now. Not perfectly, not dramatically, softly, enough to let the body understand, enough to let the night receive the impression, enough to let the subconscious hear the new instruction. I receive, I allow. It can come naturally. The wish is fulfilled within me. The law knows the way. And as those words become less like effort and more like atmosphere, you are already becoming one who allows. Now we come to the threshold itself, the quiet borderland between waking and sleep, the sacred interval where the outer world loosens its grip and the inner world becomes more easily impressed. I have spoken of this many times because it is one of the greatest gifts given to man, and yet most pass through it every night without reverence, without direction, without knowing that they are entering the chamber where tomorrow is silently being prepared. As you lie here now, let the body grow quieter. Let it become less interested in the day. The senses have served their purpose. They have shown you the world of appearances. They have reported colors, sounds, faces, words, circumstances, delays, movements, and conditions. But now, as the night deepens, the senses may withdraw. They need not be obeyed so completely. They need not be consulted as final authorities. The eyes may rest, the ears may soften around distant sounds, the skin may feel the bed, the blanket, the air, and then gradually lose its need to define everything. The body may become still, and in that stillness, a deeper faculty awakens. This is the state akin to sleep, not sleep itself, and not full waking, but that gentle middle place where the body is relaxed, the mind is softened, and the critical faculty begins to lower its guard. Reason, which all day long has argued from appearances, grows less severe here. It no longer stands quite so firmly at the gate, demanding evidence, insisting upon probability, reminding you of the past. The reasoning mind becomes drowsy, its objections become slower, its judgments become quieter, and in that softness, the subconscious becomes receptive. This is why the moments before sleep are so powerful. The subconscious receives more deeply in drowsiness because the surface mind is no longer standing in resistance. In the full activity of the day, a man may say, I am free, and immediately another thought replies, but look at your circumstances. He may say, I am loved, and immediately memory answers, but remember what happened. He may say, I am provided for, and the senses say, but count what is missing. This is the waking argument. This is the old guard at the gate. But near sleep, the guard grows tired. The gate opens, the deeper self listens. And what you carry into that chamber is not lost. What you surrender into sleep, the deeper self begins to arrange. Let that sentence settle gently within you. What you surrender into sleep, the deeper self begins to arrange. Not what you strain over, not what you fearfully monitor, not what you plead for as though you were separate from it. What you surrender into sleep as accepted, as felt, as inwardly allowed, the deeper self begins to arrange. The night is not empty. Sleep is not merely an escape from the day. It is a passage. It is a receiving chamber. It is the time when the conscious mind loosens and the subconscious receives the dominant mood, the last inner word, the final feeling, the state in which you let yourself go. And because the subconscious is creative, it does not merely hold that impression as a memory. It begins to express it. It begins to seek correspondence. It begins to organize life according to what has been accepted as true. This is why I urge you to become tenderly careful about the mood in which you fall asleep. Not fearful, never fearful. Fear of your own mind is another bondage. I do not ask you to become anxious about every passing thought. A passing thought has no dominion unless you receive it. Dwell in it, give it feeling, and carry it as truth. But I do ask you to become conscious of the state you choose to surrender into sleep, because the night receives, the deeper self receives, the soil receives the seed. Most men do not know this. They enter sleep carelessly, carrying the leftovers of the day. They lie down and rehearse worry. They replay conversations. They return to an injury. They count what is missing. They imagine tomorrow as a continuation of the same struggle. They fall asleep in control, in waiting, in resentment, in fear, or in the restless question, how will it happen? And then upon waking, they wonder why life seems to repeat itself. They do not see that the night received the old instruction. A man falls asleep in worry and then says the world gives him reasons to worry. But the worry was seed. A woman falls asleep in longing and then says the desire remains distant. But longing was seed. Another falls asleep in the effort to control everything and wakes to a world that appears to require more control. But control was seed. The subconscious is faithful. It does not mock you. It does not punish you. It simply receives the state and begins to outpicture it. So tonight we shall enter differently. Tonight you will not fall asleep trying to force. You will not fall asleep demanding that life prove itself. You will not fall asleep gripping the desire as though it might escape you. You will not fall asleep standing at one door, listening anxiously for movement behind it. Tonight you will fall asleep permitting. You will fall asleep as one who gives the desire to the law, not as a beggar gives a request to a distant king, but as the operant power gives an accepted state to the deep creative self. There is dignity in this. There is calm authority in it. You are not asking the night to rescue you. You are entering the night with the end accepted, however softly, and allowing the deeper order to do what the conscious mind cannot do. Now feel the body again. Feel how stillness itself begins to teach. A still body is not a powerless body. It is a body no longer fighting. A quiet breath is not an empty breath. It is a breath no longer carrying the old command of fear. A softened chest is not surrender to defeat. It is surrender to the law. The old self thinks power must be tense. But the deeper self knows that what is truly accepted does not need to be held with violence. Let the body grow heavier. Let the eyelids remain soft. Let the eyes rest behind them. Let the tongue lie quiet. Let the throat loosen. Let the shoulders sink as though they have finally understood that they do not carry the bridge. Let the chest open just enough to let a little more peace enter. Let the hands rest as though nothing must be seized. Let the belly release the old need to prepare for trouble. Let the breath become easy, ordinary, faithful. You need not create sleep. Sleep comes when it comes. You need not create the state by force. The state is entered by acceptance. You need not make the subconscious receive. It receives by nature. Your work is not to struggle at the gate. Your work is to bring the right feeling to the gate. What feeling? Not excitement necessarily. Not intensity. Not a dramatic wave. Perhaps only relief. Perhaps only a little inward permission. Perhaps only the feeling, I do not have to know how. Perhaps only the feeling, the law can arrange this. Perhaps only the feeling, it can come naturally. That is enough to begin. Many fail because they expect the imaginal act to feel like a great spectacle. They think that unless they are overwhelmed by emotion, nothing has happened. But the subconscious often receives quiet feeling more deeply than strained intensity. The soil does not require thunder to receive the seed. A small seed placed truly is enough. A quiet assumption felt as real is enough. A soft relief at the threshold of sleep may be more creative than hours of mental effort in the day. So do not force the feeling tonight. Allow it. Let receiving be simple. Let the desire become less like a problem and more like a completed fact handed to the deeper self. You might imagine, not yet with effort, but with softness, that the desire is no longer something you are carrying alone. It is being placed into the hands of law. It is being placed into the womb of the subconscious. It is being laid upon the altar of sleep. And once placed there, you do not snatch it back. You do not follow it with anxious instructions. You do not whisper, but make sure it comes this way, through this person, by this hour. No, you give the end. You allow the means. This is the holy exchange of the night. You give the fulfilled state. The law arranges the delivery. You accept the end. The subconscious forms the bridge. You rest. Life moves. You sleep. The deeper self works. There is no need to make this complicated. The mind loves complication because complication gives it something to control. But the law is simple. The state impressed becomes the state expressed. The feeling accepted becomes the fact encountered. The inner assumption becomes the outer arrangement. Therefore, as you approach sleep, choose the state you would have life arrange around you. If you fall asleep as one who waits, life will give you more waiting. If you fall asleep as one who fears, life will give you more forms of fear. If you fall asleep as one who must control, life will show you more things to control. But if you fall asleep as one who has surrendered the desire to law, as one who accepts the end and allows the path, then life begins to arrange delivery according to that state. This is not magic, as the world uses the word. It is law. It is consciousness expressed. It is the creative order of your own being. And the threshold of sleep is one of the easiest places to enter that order deliberately. So tonight, let the old way be interrupted. If you have gone to bed in worry before, forgive yourself. You did not know what you were doing. If you have gone to bed trying to force an answer, forgive yourself. You were trying to find peace. If you have gone to bed checking, planning, fearing, rehearsing, and measuring, forgive yourself. The old self was simply trying to survive. But now, a new understanding is entering. You are learning that the night is not for carrying the old world into tomorrow. The night is for impressing a new state upon the deeper self. Let this be a gentle turning, not a harsh command, not a violent correction. A gentle turning, from worry to surrender, from control to allowing, from waiting to assumption, from pressure to receiving, from the old question, how will it happen, to the quiet inward knowing, the law knows the way. Let the phrase move through you slowly. The law knows the way. Again, softer. The law knows the way. And another. I can surrender this into sleep. And another. The deeper self begins to arrange what I accept. Do not repeat them as work. Let them be like soft steps descending a stairway, each one lower, each one quieter, each one bringing you closer to the chamber, where the subconscious receives. The law knows the way. I can surrender this into sleep. The deeper self begins to arrange what I accept. There is no need to see the bridge tonight. There is no need to choose the channel tonight. There is no need to keep the desire alive by tension tonight. If the desire is real within you, it does not need your fear to protect it. If the end is accepted, it does not need your anxiety to guide it. If the law is faithful, it does not need your constant supervision to remain faithful. You may release. You may soften. You may let the body become a sign that the old battle is ending. And as drowsiness comes, welcome it. Do not resist it, because you think you must hear every word. The words are not the power. The state is the power. If sleep begins to take you, let sleep take you. If the mind drifts, let it drift in the direction of surrender. If the phrases fade, let the feeling remain. If even the feeling becomes wordless, let the deeper self receive the quiet. For the state akin to sleep is not improved by strain. It is entered by yielding. Your body is still. The senses are dimming. Reason is loosening. The critical mind is becoming less severe. The subconscious is opening. This is the doorway. This is the receptive hour. This is where the desire is no longer fought over, but given to the law. So tonight, do not sleep as the old self who must force. Sleep as the one who allows. Sleep as the one who has placed the matter in the right hands. Sleep as the one who knows that consciousness gives the command and life arranges the delivery. Sleep as the one who no longer needs to stand guard over the bridge. Sleep as the one who can say, with a soft and inward certainty, I accept the end and I surrender the way. What you surrender into sleep, the deeper self begins to arrange. Let that be enough for now. Let the night receive it. Let the law receive it. Let the subconscious receive it. And let yourself move closer and closer to that quiet place where your desire is no longer a burden to carry, but a seed entrusted to the faithful darkness of sleep. Now we come to the simple inner acted self, and I want you to approach it without strain. Do not make it large. Do not make it difficult. Do not turn imagination into a labor. The mind, when it is still restless, thinks power must be complicated. It imagines that to impress the law, it must construct a long drama, a perfect vision, a complete story with every detail in its place. But that is not so. The law does not require a long picture. It requires a completed state. It does not require a mental performance. It requires the feeling of the end. You do not need a long inner motion picture tonight. You do not need to see every step. You do not need to imagine the desire leaving heaven, crossing the world, finding its channel, and arriving by a road your reason can approve. No, choose only the end. Choose one small scene that would be true if your desire had already been delivered. That is enough. A little scene, if it implies completion, is more powerful than a long, uncertain story. A single phrase heard inwardly, if it carries the feeling of fulfillment, is more creative than 1,000 images watched from a distance. A small touch, a small sound, a small moment of relief, if it is accepted as real, can become the seed of an entire new arrangement. So let this be simple. Ask yourself gently, not with pressure, not with urgency, but softly, what would I experience after the desire had arrived? Not before, not while it is coming, not while I am waiting for it, after. What little moment would imply that the thing has found me, that the law has delivered, that the bridge has completed itself in a natural way? That is the place where imagination must go. Do not imagine yourself trying to receive. Imagine yourself having received. Do not imagine yourself begging for the way. Imagine yourself after the way has been revealed. Do not imagine the desire far away, coming slowly toward you. Imagine the quiet moment in which you know it came. The law has delivered. It worked out. It found its way. Now perhaps the scene is as simple as hearing a voice say, "It has arrived." You need not know who speaks. It may be someone you love. It may be a friend. It may be a trusted voice. It may even be your own inner voice, calm and certain. Let the words be few. It has arrived. Hear them not as hope, but as news already given. Hear them after the fact. Hear them with the body's relief. Hear them as though there is nothing more to arrange. It has arrived. Or perhaps the scene is even softer. You hear someone say, "Everything worked out perfectly," not dramatically, not with noise, simply, naturally, as one states something now completed. Everything worked out perfectly. Let that sentence carry the whole bridge within it. You do not need to see the bridge. The phrase implies the bridge has already done its work. It implies the difficulty is over, the channel opened, the arrangement completed, and the result received. Everything worked out perfectly. Let the body feel the relief of those words. Perhaps you hold a letter in your hand. Not a long letter you must read carefully. Only a letter, a note, a confirmation, something simple that tells you the matter has been settled. Feel the paper between your fingers. Feel the weight of it. Feel your eyes moving over one line, just enough to know the result is confirmed. It has been done. The answer has come. The desire has been delivered. Do not make the scene too complex. Hold the letter. Feel the truth. Let the heart say quietly, "Yes, it came." Or perhaps you hear the telephone ring, and when you answer, the news is already good. The voice on the other end says, what would be said if the matter were fulfilled? A few words only. It is done, it came through, you have it, everything is arranged. The exact words do not matter so much as the feeling they awaken. Let the scene be small enough to enter easily. Hear the voice, feel the relief, receive the good news inwardly. Then do not add more. The end has been implied. Or perhaps there is no voice at all. Perhaps you are simply sitting in silence, somewhere familiar, with a deep quiet in the body, feeling. It came naturally. That too is a scene. Do not think that a scene must always be full of motion. Sometimes the most powerful imaginal act is a stillness after completion. You are seated. The body is calm. The face is soft. The desire is no longer a problem. You are not planning. You are not waiting. You are not asking. You are simply sitting in the after feeling of fulfillment. And the whole atmosphere says, it came naturally. That may be enough for tonight. It came naturally. Let that be felt, not forced, not shouted. Felt. It came naturally. Or perhaps you hear a gentle voice say, I told you it would find its way. What a beautiful sentence for the tired heart. I told you it would find its way. It implies you did not need to force it. It implies the path formed. It implies the law was faithful. It implies that all your nervous planning was unnecessary. Hear those words softly, perhaps with a little smile, perhaps with relief, perhaps with the sweetness of recognition. I told you it would find its way. Any of these may serve, or another scene may arise naturally within you. Do not search too hard. The right scene is not necessarily the most beautiful one. It is the one that implies the end and feels easy enough to accept. It must be short. It must be final. It must be from fulfillment, not from waiting. It must leave no question in the heart about whether the desire has been delivered. The scene should say without strain, this is after. After is the secret, not before, not becoming, not trying. After. After it came. after it was settled, after the letter arrived, after the voice confirmed it, after the burden lifted, after the bridge completed itself, after life delivered in a way that now feels natural. Now I must tell you something very important. You must live the scene from within it. Do not watch yourself as though you were observing another person. Do not see yourself across the room. Do not look at a picture of yourself receiving. Be the one receiving. Hear the voice from where your ears would be. Feel the letter in your own hand. Feel the chair beneath your own body. Feel the breath in your own chest. Feel the relief as your own relief. Enter the scene from the first person. For imagination creates reality when you occupy it as self. If you watch yourself from outside, you may remain separate from the fulfilled state. You may admire it, but not inhabit it. You may desire it, but not become it. So enter. Put yourself there. Do not make the scene distant. Let it surround you. Let it be immediate. Let it be now. If you hear the words, hear them addressed to you. If you hold the letter, hold it with your hands. If you sit in silence, sit as the one who has received. If you smile, let it be your smile. If relief comes, let it move through your body. This is the imaginal end. Not imagination as fantasy. Imagination as assumption. Imagination as inward occupancy. Imagination as the completed fact, accepted before the outer world has finished copying it. And remember, naturalness matters more than intensity. Do not try to make the scene feel explosive. Do not demand tears. Do not demand ecstasy. Do not demand a great shock of certainty. If it comes, let it come, but do not chase it. The fulfilled state is often quieter than desire imagined it would be. It is often simple. It may feel like an exhale. It may feel like peace. It may feel like, of course. It may feel like a problem that has stopped asking for your attention. This is good. This is very good. For what is truly possessed begins to feel natural. You are not astonished all day by what already belongs to you. You are at ease with it. You do not worship it from afar. You include it in your sense of self. Therefore, if the imaginal scene begins to feel simple, do not think it has lost power. It may be gaining depth. If it begins to feel ordinary, do not abandon it. The ordinary feeling of possession is often the sign that the subconscious is receiving it as true. A man who receives good news may first feel a rush, but soon after, he feels relief. He sits, he breathes, he says, now it is settled. That settled feeling is what you want tonight. Not agitation, not strain, not the thrill of chasing, the quiet after, the peace of completion, the body no longer fighting, the mind no longer building 1,000 roads, the heart no longer standing outside the gate. So choose now, gently. If no scene has come, use one of the simplest. Here, it has arrived. Or here, everything worked out perfectly. Or feel yourself holding the confirmation. Or hear the good news. Or sit in silence and feel it came naturally. Or hear, I told you it would find its way. Let one be enough. The mind may say, is that too simple? No, it is simple because the law is simple. The state impressed becomes the state expressed. You do not need to pile many details upon it. In fact, too many details may awaken effort. Too much effort may awaken doubt. A small scene, repeated gently at the threshold of sleep, can pass beneath the guard of reason and enter the deeper self. Now as you imagine, do not strain your inner vision. If pictures are dim, let them be dim. If you only hear the words, that is enough. If you only feel the relief, that is enough. If you do not see the letter clearly, but feel the paper and know what it means, that is enough. If the voice is not distinct, but the message is understood, that is enough. The subconscious receives meaning and feeling more deeply than surface clarity. The law does not require perfect color and shape. It requires acceptance. So let the scene be felt more than inspected. Do not ask, am I seeing this correctly? Ask instead, am I entering the end? Do not ask, is the picture clear enough? Ask, does this imply that it has already been delivered? Do not ask, am I doing enough? Now, enter gently. Perhaps you hear, it has arrived. Let the words come slowly. It has arrived. Let your body hear them. Let your chest respond. Let your breath soften. It has arrived. Not it is coming. Not it may come. It has arrived. Now feel what follows those words. The little drop of the shoulders. The loosening in the belly. The quiet in the face. The absence of the old question. The sense that the matter no longer needs to be carried in the same way. This is the feeling. Stay with this more than the words. Or perhaps you choose, everything worked out perfectly. Hear it again. Everything worked out perfectly. Let it imply all that you do not need to understand. Let it imply the bridge. Let it imply the timing. Let it imply the channel. Let it imply the unseen arrangement. Everything worked out perfectly. No need to know how. No need to explain. No need to force. It worked out. Or perhaps you sit quietly and feel it came naturally. Let the silence be the scene. The body is seated or lying still. The desire is no longer ahead of you. The result has come. And the strongest feeling is not amazement, but peace. It came naturally. It found its way. The law delivered. I did not need to force the road. Let that scene become your resting place. Now, if your mind drifts, return lightly. Do not scold yourself. A drifting mind near sleep is natural. Bring it back as one returns a child to bed, gently, kindly. Back to the phrase, back to the letter, back to the voice, back to the stillness after fulfillment. Each return plants more deeply. Each soft repetition lets the scene become less like something you are doing and more like somewhere you are resting. This is not concentration in the hard sense. It is dwelling. It is relaxing into an assumption. You are not gripping the scene. You are letting the scene hold you. You are not forcing it to become real. You are entering it as real. There is a difference. Forcing says, I must make this happen. Entering says, here I am, after it has happened. The first belongs to strain. The second belongs to the law. If you feel nothing at first, do not be troubled. The old state may still be near. The body may still be carrying the day. The mind may still be asking how. Let it be. Continue gently. Let the scene be small. Hear the words once. Feel the relief for one breath. That is enough to begin. Then again, another breath, another soft entering. Do not demand that the whole inner world change at once. A state can be entered quietly, and sleep will deepen it. The purpose tonight is not to impress the conscious mind. It is to impress the subconscious. And the subconscious is often reached by simplicity, repetition, and feeling at the border of sleep. A short scene, felt as true, repeated without strain, becomes like a seed placed again and again in the same fertile ground. Eventually it is received. And once received, the deeper self begins to arrange the corresponding world. This is why the scene must imply delivery completed. If you imagine the desire still on its way, you may impress waiting. If you imagine yourself trying to get it, you may impress effort. If you imagine yourself persuading, pleading, searching, chasing, you may impress distance. But if you imagine after, the whole state changes. After means possession. After means relief. After means the bridge has already served its purpose. After means the law has delivered. So remain with after, 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 after it arrived, after it was settled, after everything worked out, after the good news was received, after the road found itself, after the law delivered. Let your little scene be filled with after. Not many details, only the feeling of completion. You may hear once more, I told you it would find its way. Let that sentence be like a hand on the shoulder of the tired self. I told you it would find its way. Yes, the desire found its way. The law found the channel. Life arranged the bridge. The deeper self knew what to do. You did not need to force it. You only needed to accept the end. And now, as the scene repeats gently, let it become more natural, less dramatic, more familiar. Let it feel like a memory from a life you are now entering. Let it be something you can sleep inside. If sleep comes while you are holding the letter, let it come. If sleep comes while you are hearing the phrase, let it come. If sleep comes while you are sitting in the quiet, after feeling, let it come. That is not failure. That is success. To fall asleep in the end is to carry the seed into the deep. You only need a small scene, a little voice, a simple confirmation, a moment of relief, a completed fact. That is enough. The law does not need your long explanation. The subconscious does not need your anxious planning. Life does not need your fearful supervision. Give the law a completed fact. Give it the end. Give it the feeling that the desire has already been delivered. Then rest, and let the night do what the day cannot do by force. Let the scene now be yours. Hear it, feel it, enter it. It has arrived, everything worked out perfectly. It came naturally. I told you it would find its way. Choose one. Let it be enough. Let it become soft. Let it become true within you. And as you drift nearer to sleep, Let the completed fact be the last thing your deeper self receives. Now let me give you something very simple to carry with you into sleep. Not a formula to be forced, not a charm to be repeated anxiously, not a sentence to be hurled at life as though life were resisting you. I want to give you a decree of surrender, a small inward phrase that helps the mind release the burden of control and helps the deeper self receive the state of completion. Every man is praying all day long, though he may not know it. Prayer is not only the words spoken in a church, nor only the request whispered in desperation. Your inner speech is prayer. The conversation you carry within yourself is prayer. The little sentences you repeat when no one hears you, the conclusions you draw about life, the names you give yourself, the meanings you assign to silence, delay, success, failure, love, money, health, and time, all of this is prayer. For prayer in its deepest sense is the state of consciousness you occupy and accept as true. You may say no words with the lips and still be praying fear all day. You may walk through the world quietly and inwardly say, "It will not come, it is too late. I do not know how. Nothing moves for me. I must force this." And though no one hears, the subconscious hears. The law hears, because the law is not listening to sound. It is receiving state. It is receiving assumption. It is receiving the feeling you have clothed your inner speech with. So tonight, we must make inner speech gentle, simple, and true to the end. Not many words, not argument, not persuasion, a small decree, a phrase that carries surrender, a phrase that closes the door on forcing, a phrase that lets life move. The phrase matters, but not because syllables possess some strange power apart from consciousness. The phrase matters because of the state it awakens. Words are vessels. Feeling is the wine. Words are doors. The state is the room. Words are seeds, but feeling is the life within them. If you repeat a sentence while remaining inwardly frightened, the subconscious receives the fright more deeply than the sentence. If you say, "It is done," but feel, "I hope this makes it happen," then the deeper self may receive hoping, not completion. That is why I ask you to speak these words softly, slowly, as one who is allowing, not as one who is begging. Do not repeat as a beggar. Do not repeat as one standing outside the palace gates, hoping the king may hear. Do not repeat as one trying to bribe the law with many words. Repeat, if you repeat at all, as one entering rest. Repeat as one laying down the burden. Repeat as one who has handed the matter to the deeper order. Repeat as one who is no longer instructing life in fear, but consenting to fulfillment. There is a great difference between a phrase spoken from lack and a phrase spoken from surrender. The same words may either bind or free, depending upon the state behind them. A man may say, "It is done," with clenched hands, tight chest, and hidden panic, and inwardly he is saying, "Please let it be done, for I fear it is not." Another may say the same words with a soft breath, a quiet body, and a gentle inward release, and in him the words become a seal. They mean completion. They mean Sabbath. They mean the end has been accepted. So tonight, do not use these phrases to fight yourself. Use them to soothe yourself into the state. Let them become a lullaby, not a command shouted by fear. A lullaby does not attack the child. It quiets him. It does not force sleep. It invites sleep. It does not argue with wakefulness. It creates an atmosphere in which rest becomes natural. Let your decree be like that. Let it rock the mind away from control. Let it cradle the body in relief. Let it make the fulfilled state easier to enter. The first phrase is very simple. It is done. Only 3 words, and yet they contain the whole mystery when rightly felt. It is done. Not "it will be done." Not "perhaps it may be done." Not "I hope it is being done." It is done. These words are not meant to describe what the outer eye has already reported. They are meant to describe what consciousness accepts as complete. When you say "it is done," you are not asking appearances for permission. You are giving the deeper self a completed fact. You are closing the argument. You are refusing to carry the desire as an unfinished burden into sleep. Say it softly within. It is done. Let the shoulders fall a little. It is done. Let the chest soften. It is done. Let the breath become less urgent. It is done. If the mind asks, "But how?" do not follow it. Return gently. It is done. If the mind asks, "But when?" do not fight. Return. It is done. The next phrase is this: "I let life deliver it." Feel how gentle that is. I let life deliver it. This does not mean you are giving up power. It means you are returning the means to the law. You are no longer trying to drag the desire through the one little road chosen by fear. You are allowing life to arrange the delivery. You are acknowledging that the conscious mind does not have to supervise all hidden movements. You are no longer standing in the middle of the bridge, demanding that it explain itself before it is built. I let life deliver it. Let those words loosen the need to interfere. I let life deliver it. Let them soften the hands. I let life deliver it. Let them tell the body that receiving is safe. Not I force life. Not I chase life. Not I command every door. I let life deliver it. And life in the language I use tonight is not something outside you and separate from you. It is consciousness expressing itself. It is the law in movement. It is the divine order taking the state you have accepted and clothing it in circumstance. So when you say, I let life deliver it, you are saying, I accept the end and I allow the law to reveal the path. The next phrase is this: the way is already prepared. Let that become very quiet. The way is already. You do not see the whole way. You do not need to see it. You are not required to know every step in order to rest. The way belongs to the law. The bridge belongs to the subconscious. The arrangement belongs to the deeper order. The moment the end is accepted, the way begins to exist in the invisible. Not as something you must force, but as something that unfolds. The way is already prepared. This phrase is especially helpful when the mind feels lost. When it says, I do not know how this could happen, answer gently, the way is already prepared. When it says, there is no visible path, answer, the way is already prepared. When it says, but I cannot see the channel, answer, I do not need to see it tonight. The way is already prepared. Again, do not say this aggressively. Say it like a mother smoothing the hair of a tired child. The way is already prepared. Let the body believe it first. The way is already prepared. Let the breath slow around it. The way is already prepared. Let the mind grow less interested in figuring everything out. Now another phrase. I do not need to know how. This is a phrase of liberation. I do not need to know how. For the old self believes that knowing how is the condition of peace. It says, give me the entire road, and I will rest. But the awakened self knows that rest comes from acceptance of the end, not from possession of the map. The map is not the source. The state is the source. I do not need to know how. Say it as a release, not as a complaint. I do not need to know how. Let it remove the burden from the forehead. I do not need to know how. Let it remove the weight from the chest. I do not need to know how. Let it remove the strain from the belly. There is no shame in not knowing how. It is often a blessing, for if you knew the how too soon, the old mind might interfere with it. It might judge it, resist it, reject it, or try to improve it. The law often works best when the conscious mind grows quiet enough to stop meddling. So this phrase is a key. It says, I remain faithful to the end, and I release the middle. I do not need to know how. Now another. The law is arranging everything. Let this be slow. The law is arranging everything. Not the law will begin when you worry enough. Not the law will move only if you remain tense. Not the law requires your nervous supervision. The law is arranging everything. The hidden order is not asleep because you sleep. The subconscious is not idle because your surface mind has grown quiet. Indeed, when the surface mind becomes quiet, the deeper movement may proceed without resistance. The law is arranging everything does not mean you must see movement now. It means you are trusting cause over appearance. It means you are letting the unseen be unseen while remaining faithful to the state. The law is arranging everything. Let that phrase become like a blanket over the mind. The law is arranging everything. Let it gather the scattered thoughts. The law is arranging everything. Let it quiet the need to watch. The law is arranging everything. And then another phrase. My desire finds its way to me. This is a beautiful phrase for surrender because it does not bind the desire to. It allows movement. It allows intelligence. It allows the bridge. It says, I do not need to chase every channel. I do not need to force every door. My desire finds its way to me. My desire finds its way to me. Not because I run after it in fear. Not because I command every person. Not because I stand guard over the world. My desire finds its way to me because the state has been accepted. My desire finds its way to me because the law expresses what. My desire finds its way to me because life is not separate from the inner man. Let this phrase remove the feeling that the desire is fragile, lost, or far away. Let it become softer, nearer, more natural. My desire finds its way to me. Again, my desire finds its way to me. And if the mind asks, through which road? Let the phrase answer without explanation. My desire finds its way to me. The final phrase I often. These words carry the spirit of tonight. Not I strain and receive. Not I panic and receive. Not I control and receive. I rest and receive. They do not deny action. They place action in its proper order. From rest, right movement may come. From receiving, inspired steps may appear. From the fulfilled state, life may guide you naturally. But tonight, at the threshold of sleep, the action is inward rest. I rest and let the breath carry it. I rest and receive. Let the heart soften to it. I rest and receive. Now you need not use every phrase. Do not collect them anxiously. Do not make a burden out of what is meant to relieve you. Choose one that feels easiest, one that feels like a key turning softly in the lock, one that makes the body less tense, one that lowers the need to control, one that lets the desire feel safer in the hands of law. Perhaps tonight your phrase is, it is, perhaps it is, I let life deliver it. Perhaps it is, the way is already prepared. Perhaps it is, I do not need to know how. Perhaps it is, the law is arranging everything. Perhaps it is, my desire finds its way to me. Perhaps it is, I rest and receive. Let one be enough. The restless mind always thinks more is better. More words, more effort, more repetition, more proof, more control. But the sleeping mind, a small phrase, gently felt, repeated with ease, can become a deep impression. It can pass through the doorway where long arguments cannot go. It can carry the whole state into sleep. So choose one. And now let us feel how it should be spoken inwardly, not sharply, not loudly, not mechanically, not as a demand, but softly, as though the phrase were being breathed rather than spoken. It is done. A little silence. It is done. Silence. I let life deliver it. Rest. I let life deliver it. Or the way is already prepared. Silence. The way is already prepared. Ease. The way is already prepared. Let the words come like gentle waves. Let them rise and fall. Let there be space between them. Do not hurry. The subconscious is not impressed by hurry. Hurry belongs to fear. Let the phrase be slow enough to be felt. If you say, I do not need to, feel how the mind no longer needs to build the bridge tonight. Feel how the body becomes safer when the how is returned to the law. If you say the law is arranging everything, then feel the comfort of being supported by order. Feel the unseen becoming trustworthy. Feel the night as a chamber where the deeper self begins to move. If you say, my desire finds its way to me, then feel the desire becoming less distant. Feel that it need not be hunted. Feel that the bridge has intelligence. Feel that the desire is not lost. It is moving according to the accepted state. If you say, I rest and receive, then let rest and receiving become the same act. Rest not as emptiness, but as consent. Receiving not as grasping, but as openness. Do not try to believe perfectly. Perfect belief is not demanded of you tonight. The phrase is here to lead you into a state, and the state may begin gently. A little relief is enough. A little softening is enough. A little less need to control is enough. The night will deepen what is carried into it. Sleep will take the seed farther than the waking mind can take it by strain. Now I want you to understand something else. If the phrase begins to repeat by itself, let it. If it fades, let it fade. If you drift and return, return gently. If you fall asleep in the middle of it, that is well. The phrase has done its work if it has led you toward surrender. It does not need to remain bright in the conscious mind all night. Once it enters the deeper self with feeling, the law knows how to use it. Let it become a lullaby. It is done. I let life deliver it. The way is already prepared. I do not need to know how. The law is arranging everything. My desire finds its way to me. I rest and receive. Now choose one, or let one choose you. The one that gives relief is enough. The one that feels simplest is enough. The one that makes the body less guarded is enough. Do not seek the perfect phrase. Seek the receptive state. Inner speech is prayer. So let tonight's prayer be quiet surrender. Not please make it happen. Not why has it not come. Not what must I do. Not how can I force the way. But it is done. I let life deliver it. The way is already prepared. I do not need to know how. The law is arranging everything. My desire finds its way to me. Let the old inner speech lose strength now. Let the old sentences grow faint. The ones that said, I must figure it out. The ones that said, it depends on one door. The ones that said, nothing will move unless I force it. Let them fade like sounds from a distant room. You do not need to enter that room tonight. You have a new phrase now. A simple one, a soft one, a phrase to loosen control, a phrase to carry into sleep, a phrase that lets, and as it repeats, let it repeat from the end, not from lack. Let it repeat as though the law is faithful. Let it repeat as though the night is receiving. Let it repeat as though the desire has been placed in the hands of a deeper order. It is done. The way is prepared. I rest and receive. Let the phrase become softer. Let it become slower. Let it become less like speech and more like feeling. And when even the words begin to dissolve, let the feeling remain. The matter is given to the law. The way is being arranged, and you do not need to carry the burden of control into sleep. Now let me speak to you of the bridge. Because once the state is accepted, something begins that the outer eye cannot always see. The mind, if it remains untrained, believes that nothing is happening unless it can point to a visible sign. It believes that if the desire has not appeared in its final form, then life is still still, the law is still silent, the answer has not begun. But this is not true. The first movement of the law is often hidden. The first arrangement is often unseen. The root may begin forming long before the conscious mind can name it. When a state is accepted, the bridge begins. This is one of the most comforting truths I can give you tonight. The bridge does not begin when you understand. It does not begin when you can explain it. It does not begin when another person finally behaves as you expected, or when the outer world gives you some grand announcement. The bridge begins when consciousness accepts the end. The moment you inwardly occupy the fulfilled state, the subconscious begins to seek expression for it. The law begins to arrange conditions, and life, which is only consciousness made visible, begins to move in correspondence with what has been assumed. But the bridge does not always look like a bridge. This is why men judge too soon. They expect the first sign to resemble the final result. They expect delivery to appear dressed exactly as desire. They expect the road to be straight, obvious, and pleasing from the beginning. And when something ordinary happens, or something inconvenient, or something quiet, or even something that appears to be a delay, they say, this cannot be it. But I tell you, what looks unrelated may be the law arranging the delivery. Let that sentence sink into you. What looks unrelated may be the law arranging the delivery. A delay may be part of the bridge. A conversation may be part of the bridge. A correction may be part of the bridge. A letter may be part of the bridge. An opportunity may be part of the bridge. A closed door may be part of the bridge. A coincidence, as men call it, may be part of the bridge. Life need not announce, this is the path. Often the path is recognized only after it has carried you. This is why you must not stand over the days with too much judgment. You do not yet know what belongs to the bridge. The conscious mind is quick to condemn what it does not understand. It calls a delay failure. It calls silence rejection. It calls redirection confusion. It calls an unexpected meeting meaningless. It calls a cancelled plan disappointment. But the law may be using all of these things. The bridge may be forming through the very event the old self would have resisted. Suppose your desire has been accepted inwardly, and then the next day, instead of the result appearing, there is a delay. The old self says, nothing is happening. I have been denied. But perhaps the delay is rearranging the timing. Perhaps it is moving another piece into place. Perhaps it is keeping you from a lesser path. Perhaps it is allowing a person, a letter, a decision, or a circumstance to meet you at the proper hour. What appears to be delay to the impatient self may be precision in the hands of law. Do not judge the bridge too soon. Suppose there is a conversation, a simple conversation, not dramatic, not spiritual, not clothed in great significance. A word is spoken, a name is mentioned, an idea is stirred, a possibility enters. But perhaps that conversation is one link in the chain. Perhaps it leads to another thought, another meeting, another movement. Perhaps the law begins with a word, because a word can open a door that force could never open. Do not despise ordinary conversations. The law often travels in ordinary speech. Suppose there is a correction. Something is adjusted. A plan changes. You are asked to redo something, review something, reconsider something, return to something. It may say, this is a setback, but perhaps the correction is alignment. Perhaps the first version was not able to carry the fulfilled state. Perhaps life is refining the path so that the delivery can come cleanly. A correction may not be punishment. It may be preparation. Do not call refinement failure. Suppose a letter arrives, or a message through ordinary means, or a notice, or a simple piece of paper that at first seems unrelated. The mind reads only the surface. It says this is nothing, but perhaps in that letter is a hint, an introduction, an opening, a date, a name, a change. Perhaps the bridge is beginning in ink and paper. I have seen life move through letters many times. A letter may seem small, but one sentence may carry a whole road within it. Do not measure the size of the beginning. Suppose an opportunity comes, but it is not the one you pictured. Perhaps it is humble. Perhaps it looks incomplete. Perhaps it asks you to take one step without showing the second. The old self may reject it because it does not match the little plan it had formed. But the law is not bound to your plan. It is bound to your state. If the state has been accepted, the bridge may appear as an opportunity that does not yet reveal its full meaning. Walk gently, do not rush in panic, but do not refuse the ordinary movement because it lacks drama. What looks small may contain the root. Suppose a door this, more than many things, frightens the old self. It says, now it is impossible, now the way is gone. But I tell you, a closed door may be one of the most merciful movements of the bridge. It may close because it was not aligned with the end. It may close because another door must be noticed. It may close because the old self would have entered it from fear and created more of the old pattern. It may close because the law is protecting the state you have accepted. Men often weep before closed doors and later bless them. Do not stand before a closed door and call the law unfaithful. Suppose a coincidence occurs. Someone appears at the right hour. A thought comes just when it is needed. You hear a sentence that answers a question you had not spoken. You find yourself in a place you did not intend to go. The old mind says it is chance, but I say there is no chance in a world governed by consciousness. What men call coincidence is often the meeting point of an accepted state and an arranged event. It looks accidental only because the conscious mind did not plan it. The bridge often appears as coincidence because the law does not require your visible planning to move. Now, I do not say this so that you will become tense and begin examining every event. That would be another form of control. I do not want you lying awake or waking tomorrow trying to label every small thing as a sign. That is not rest. That is suspicion, dressed as faith. The purpose of understanding the bridge is not to make you more watchful. It is to make you less afraid. It is to help you stop condemning life too quickly. It is to help you remain inwardly faithful while the root forms in ways you cannot yet understand. You do not need to see the whole road. The root can form by itself. The law can arrange the delivery. This is peace. The mind wants to know the bridge because it thinks knowledge will give control. But the bridge is often known only in retrospect. You live one moment, then another, and only later do you say, ah, that was the beginning. That delay was not against me. That conversation mattered. That closed door redirected me. That small opportunity carried more than I knew. That quiet impulse was part of the way. The bridge is seen from the fulfilled state more clearly than from the anxious middle. So tonight, do not ask sleep to show you every step. Do not bring the demand for a complete map into the chamber of the subconscious. Give the law the end, not the root. Let the root belong to the law. Let the bridge be built beyond the reach of your nervous supervision. You may rest without knowing. You may allow without seeing. You may sleep while the deeper self arranges. Think again of the seed. When placed in the earth, it does not produce the full tree in one visible gesture. Much happens in darkness. Roots move before leaves appear. Hidden things precede visible things. If a man judges the seed by the first day, he may call it dead. If he digs it up to inspect its progress, he disturbs what he longs to see. But if he understands the law of growth, he lets the hidden process remain hidden until its own appointed expression. So it is with the bridge of incidents. Much forms beneath the surface before the conscious mind can call it movement, and the ordinary can be sacred when it responds to the state. This is something I want you to feel deeply. Do not think sacred means spectacular. Do not think the law must arrive with thunder. The sacred may come through a quiet knock at the door, through a sentence in a letter, through a meeting that seemed unplanned, through a delay that seemed inconvenient, through a correction that humbled you, through a door closing so another could open, through the ordinary hand of life moving one object, one person, one thought, one circumstance at a time. When the ordinary responds to the state, the ordinary becomes holy. A cup of water given at the right moment may be part of the bridge. A name remembered may be part of the bridge. A casual invitation may be part of the bridge. A walk taken without much thought may place you where you need to be. An impulse to write, to wait, to answer, to decline, to rest, to visit, to remain silent may be part of the bridge. The law does not need to appear strange in order to be divine. It needs only to be faithful, and it is faithful. The law is faithful to the state occupied. If you occupy waiting, the bridge of waiting continues. If you occupy fear, fear finds its forms. If you occupy force, life appears to require force. But if you occupy the fulfilled state, if you surrender the desire into the deeper self, if you allow life to deliver, then the bridge begins to form from that acceptance. It may not look at first like what you expected, but it will belong to the end assumed. And if you remain faithful, the pattern will reveal itself. This is why you must be gentle with appearances. The appearance of today may be old echo. The event of tomorrow may be a link. The silence of one person may be making room for another movement. The seeming setback may be preparing the true opening. The thing you call unrelated may be law in disguise. What looks unrelated may be the law arranging the delivery. Let it repeat now softly. What looks unrelated may be the law arranging the delivery. Not everything must be judged immediately. Not everything must be understood at once. Not everything must prove itself to the anxious mind before it is allowed to serve. There is a wisdom in allowing life to unfold without striking every event with the hammer of interpretation. Some things must be lived before they can be understood. Some bridges are crossed before they are recognized as bridges. Some blessings begin as inconveniences. Some answers begin as interruptions. Some deliveries begin as endings. Do not judge too soon. The old self judges too soon because it is afraid. It wants reassurance in every hour. It wants every event to speak clearly. Yes, this is it. But the fulfilled self does not need constant reassurance. The fulfilled self rests in the accepted end and lets events arrange themselves. It can move through the day with dignity because it is not demanding that each hour reveal the whole. It knows the law is working beneath the visible. This is the state I would have you sleep in tonight. Not curiosity sharpened into checking. Not suspicion of every event. Not a restless search for signs, but quiet trust. The bridge is forming. The route can form by itself. The law knows the road. Life is arranging the delivery. I do not need to see the whole path tonight. Let those thoughts become soft. The bridge is forming. The route can form by itself. The law knows the road. Life is arranging the delivery. I do not need to see the whole path tonight. If the mind asks, but what if I miss the bridge? Let it rest. You do not miss what belongs to your state. When you remain in the state, you are moved along its bridge. You may be led by desire, by impulse, by circumstance, by invitation, by necessity, by a change of plan, by an ordinary event. You need not be tense to be guided. In fact, tension often makes guidance harder to feel. Rest makes you more available. If the mind asks, what if I choose wrongly? Let it rest. A state deeply accepted has a way of correcting the path. It will close what must close, open what must open, disturb what must be disturbed, and settle what must be settled. Your task is not to become perfect in every decision tonight. Your task is to become inwardly faithful to the fulfilled end. The law can use even your ordinary movements. It can use even what you did not plan. If the mind asks, what if nothing is happening? Let it rest. The seed in darkness would say the same if it could speak by sight alone. But hidden movement is still movement. Invisible arrangement is still arrangement. The absence of spectacle is not the absence of law. The root can form quietly. The root can form naturally. The root can form while you sleep. So let the night become a place where the bridge may begin without your interference. Let sleep be the hour in which the deeper self receives the end and begins arranging the unseen. Let the desire no longer be carried as a question. Let it be handed to the law as a completed fact. The bridge does not need you standing over it with a lamp, demanding that every stone show itself before it is placed. Rest. Let the first stone be placed in silence. Let the next be placed without your anxiety. Let the law work in the hidden places. Let the ordinary become sacred. Let the unexpected become possible. Let delays lose their power to frighten you. Let closed doors lose their power to define you. Let closed doors lose their power to define you. Let conversations become possible servants of the end. Let opportunities appear without needing to look grand. Let coincidences be received with quiet recognition rather than desperate grasping. You need not force the bridge. You need not see the whole road. You need not judge the first movement. You need only remain in the end. And from the end, the bridge forms. This is the mercy of the law. It does not ask the conscious mind to create every incident. It asks consciousness to accept the state, and then incidents gather themselves accordingly. You may not know how the bridge is forming, but you can know where you dwell. You may not see the road, but you can accept the destination. You may not understand tonight's silence, tomorrow's delay, or the next day's conversation, but you can remain faithful to the fulfilled state. And if you remain faithful, the route will reveal itself by being walked. So let this be the comfort you carry now. No full map is needed tonight. No visible proof is needed tonight. No inspection of the road is needed tonight. The bridge begins when the state is accepted. The unseen route is already forming in the order of law. Life knows how to deliver what consciousness has received as true. What looks unrelated may be the law arranging the delivery. What looks slow may be precise. What looks closed may be protection. What looks ordinary may be sacred. What looks accidental may be arranged. And what you cannot yet see may already be moving toward form. Rest in that. Rest without needing to understand all. Rest without needing to name every sign. Rest without needing to hurry the bridge. The end is accepted. The law is faithful. The route can form by itself. And you may sleep while the unseen road begins to appear. Now let everything become very quiet. There is nothing more to reach for. Nothing more to understand. Nothing more to correct. Nothing more to force. The night has received enough. The deeper self has heard enough. The law does not require your strain. The law does not require your worry. The law does not require your watching. The law is faithful, and what has been surrendered into sleep is not lost. It is carried deeper. It is taken beneath the noise of the waking mind. It is received in the hidden place where the seed begins its silent work. So rest now. Rest now. Rest now. Rest now. Do not try to finish the desire with thought. Do not try to complete the bridge with effort. Do not ask the mind to become a servant of every unseen movement. The mind may grow quiet now. The body may grow heavy now. The heart may stop leaning forward. You may let yourself be held by the state you have entered. It is done. Let that be soft. It is done. Not loud, not forced, not repeated as a demand, only received. It is done. The old self may have believed that something must still be pushed, solved, watched, argued, controlled, or carried. But now in this hour, you may let that old belief fade. There is nothing left to force. The desire has been placed where it belongs, not in the hands of fear, not in the hands of one narrow door, not in the restless hands of anxious planning. It has been placed in consciousness. It has been placed in the law. It has been surrendered into the deeper self. And the law is faithful. The law is faithful. The law is faithful. It does not forget because you sleep. It does not stop because you rest. It does not grow weaker because you are no longer worrying. The law is not sustained by anxiety. The law is not awakened by strain. The law is always itself, always exact, always responding to the state accepted within. So let the state be accepted now without noise, without effort, without argument. The state is accepted. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Let that sentence become a pillow for the mind. You do not need to know how. You do not need to see the road. You do not need to name the channel. You do not need to choose the hour. You do not need to command the bridge. The way is prepared. The way is prepared. The way is prepared. And if the surface mind does not know the way, let it not be troubled. The surface mind does not need to know. The deeper self knows its own order. The subconscious knows how to arrange what has been accepted. Life knows how to bring together what belongs to the fulfilled state. There are paths beneath paths, movements beneath movements, quiet arrangements beneath the appearances of the day. Life delivers in silence. Life delivers in silence. Life delivers in silence. Not always with great noise, not always with signs that the anxious mind can immediately seize, not always by the road that fear had chosen. Life delivers in silence. A thought may move in one man. A decision may soften in another. A door may close quietly. A letter may be written. A meeting may be arranged. A delay may protect. A conversation may begin. A memory may awaken. A small movement may start a greater movement. And you do not need to supervise it. You do not need to remain awake to guard it. You do not need to keep the whole world turning by tension. Rest now. Rest now. Rest now. There is nothing left to force. Let the jaw be soft. Let the tongue be still. Let the eyes rest in darkness. Let the chest be quiet. Let the hands be open. Let the belly release. Let the breath come and go as life itself comes and goes, without your command, without your effort, without your fear. The breath knows how to move, the heart knows how to beat, the law knows how to deliver. You do not need to know how. You may sleep now in the assumption that the way is prepared. You may sleep in the quiet certainty that the law is faithful. You may sleep without holding the desire tightly in the mind. You may sleep without repeating many words. You may sleep without checking the darkness for signs. You may sleep here, in this inward room where the matter is no longer carried as a burden, but surrendered as a seed. Sleep carries it deeper. Sleep carries it deeper. Sleep carries it deeper. What the waking mind touches lightly, sleep may carry down into the hidden soil. What the heart accepts softly, sleep may seal more deeply. What the body releases tonight, the deeper self may arrange without resistance. So do not fear sleep. Do not resist the fading of thought. Do not believe that the state is lost because the words grow dim. The words may fade, but the impression remains. The phrase may dissolve, but the state has entered. It is done. Rest now. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Life delivers in silence. Sleep carries it deeper. There is nothing left to force. Let these words become slower now. It is done. Rest now. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Life delivers in silence. Sleep carries it deeper. There is nothing left to force. Again softer. It is done. Rest now. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Life delivers in silence. Sleep carries it deeper. There is nothing left to force. Do not try to hold the words. Let them hold you. Do not try to remember them. Let them become the atmosphere around you. If only one phrase remains, let it remain. If no phrase remains, let the feeling remain. If even the feeling becomes quiet and wordless, that too is good. The deeper self does not need noise. The law does not need many sounds. The state has been accepted in the quiet. Rest now. You are not abandoning the desire by resting. You are not losing the desire by sleeping. You are not becoming passive in the old sense. You are cooperating with the law. You have given the end. You have released the means. You have stopped standing at the door in fear. You have allowed the unseen to be unseen. And now the night may carry what the day could not carry by force. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Let the body believe that more than the mind tries to explain it. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Let the chest soften around it. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Let the shoulders drop more deeply. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Let the breath become slower, easier, less concerned with tomorrow. Tomorrow may come, and when it comes, you need not begin by checking. You need not begin by asking whether the law has remembered. You need not wake as the old self who immediately searches the outer world for proof. The law is faithful in the night, and the law is faithful in the morning. The bridge may be forming before the eye can see it. The delivery may be moving before the mind can name it. Let the morning be the morning. Let the night be the night. Tonight your only part is rest. Rest now, rest now, rest now. There is no urgency. No urgency to believe perfectly. No urgency to feel intensely. No urgency to see clearly. No urgency to repeat correctly. No urgency to know the way. No urgency to hold the state with force. There is only quiet surrender. There is only the accepted end. There is only the faithful law. There is only the soft movement into sleep. It is done. Let it be simple. It is done. Let it be enough. It is done. Let the mind stop adding more. The old self always wants more. More evidence, more effort, more control, more explanation, more signs. But the fulfilled state becomes simple. It does not need decoration. It does not need noise. It rests in what is accepted. Tonight, let simplicity be your strength. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. Life delivers in silence. Sleep carries it deeper. Nothing left to force. Nothing left to force. Nothing left to force. Let the words become fewer now. Done. Rest. Faithful law. Prepared way. No need to know how. Silent delivery. Sleep carries it. Nothing to force. Again. Done. Rest. Faithful law. Prepared way. No need to know how. Silent delivery. Sleep carries it. Nothing to force. And softer still. Done. Rest. Faithful, prepared. Know how. Silence. Not reaching. Receiving. Not forcing. Receiving. Not watching. Receiving. Not asking the road to appear before the state is accepted. Receiving. You may rest and receive. You may sleep and receive. You may release and receive. You may be quiet and receive. For the law is not waiting for your attention. The law responds to your being, and tonight your being may become peaceful. Your being may become open. Your being may become surrendered. Your being may become the one who says without strain, "It is done, and I let life deliver it." Let that be very soft now. It is done, and I let life deliver it. Again, it is done, and I let life deliver it. And again, it is done, and I let life deliver it. Now let even that become shorter. It is done, life delivers. It is done, life delivers. It is done, life delivers. The feast prepared. The law is faithful. Sleep carries it deeper. There is nothing, and if sleep is near, let it come. Do not hold it away to finish a thought. Do not keep yourself awake to complete a practice. Sleep itself is part of the practice now. Sleep is the descent. Sleep is the carrying. Sleep is the deepening. Sleep is the soft passage into the hidden chamber where the seed is held. Let yourself go there. Let yourself drift. Let the words become distant. Let the body become heavy. Let the mind become simple. Let the desire rest in the law. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. Life delivers in silence. Sleep carries it deeper. There is nothing left to force. Now quieter, faithful, prepared, silent, deeper. Rest, again, faithful, prepared, silent, deeper. Rest, and now, even less. Rest, receive, sleep, rest, receive, sleep. No more effort, no more control, no more watching, no more forcing. Only rest, only receiving, only sleep. It rests in the deeper self. It rests in the faithful law. It rests in the silence where delivery begins. And you may rest too. Rest now. Rest now. Rest now. Rest now. It is done. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. You do not need to know how. Life delivers in silence. Sleep carries it deeper. There is nothing left to force. Let that be the final atmosphere. Not a conclusion, not an ending, only a fading. A soft fading into trust. A soft fading into a soft fading into the quiet knowledge that the law works while you rest. It is done. Rest now. The law is faithful. The way is prepared. Sleep carries it deeper. Life delivers in silence. Nothing left to force. Nothing left to force. Sleep now in the state. Sleep now in surrender. Sleep now and let the law deliver.